allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
Subaru of Puyallup is known for making your car buying experience stress-free no matter what. Olivia here from Subaru of Puyallup. We've provided stress-free sales and service through storms, supply hiccups, even a pandemic. You can count on a stress-free experience no matter what's around the corner. Right now, we have over 300 brand new Subaru vehicles on the lot with stress-free pricing plus excellent stress-free trade-in values. Come in and secure today's pricing on tomorrow's car at Subaru of Puyallup.
Hey, it's Jason Rance. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
If you're thinking about renovating an attic, spending more time in your sunroom, or building onto your home, a Carrier ductless unit is the perfect solution for climate control. It's efficient, quiet, and incredibly flexible when it comes to installation because there's no ductwork required. It's just one more way we're making your home totally comfortable.
Your local Carrier heating and cooling dealer will improve your home's comfort, air quality, and efficiency. Visit CarrierNorthwest.com to find the expert near you. Carrier, turn to the experts.
This week, two-time Grammy winner Marcus Miller is live at Dimitro's Jazz Alley, June 12th through the 15th. 4 nights, 6 shows, 1 legendary bassist. Get tickets now at jazzalley.com.
KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Steve Kathan. There's breaking news from the White House. Another federal showdown with California looms as President Trump is signing a resolution blocking the state's move to phase out the sale of gasoline-powered cars.
We officially rescue the U.S. auto industry from destruction by terminating the California electric vehicle mandate once and for all.
That plan had been adopted by 11 other states. California plans to go to courts. A federal judge today hears the state's challenge to the president's deployment of federal troops to L.A. to deal with protests over ICE raids. On Capitol Hill, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and other Democrats are before a House committee defending sanctuary cities.
Minnesotans are angry with what they've seen happen to their neighbors. They're angry that the federal government has been snatching people up, putting them in prison, and deporting them without a shred of due process.
Now to New York and the Harvey Weinstein sex crimes retrial. CBS's Michael Wallace says a mistrial on the last charge was declared.
The jury was stuck on that third-degree rape charge after delivering a partial verdict yesterday. They convicted the former movie mogul of one of the top charges but acquitted him of the other. The judge declared the mistrial after the jury foreperson said he would not return to the jury room to deliberate because he felt bullied by another juror. The verdicts announced yesterday will stand.
Investigators are at work in India after the crash of a Boeing 787 jetliner that was bound for London. CBS's Chanel Call.
The Air India plane we know took off at about 1:38 p.m. local time, and it went down just 8 minutes after takeoff in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. There were plumes of black smoke coming from the wreckage in the moments after that crash. The plane we know was carrying 242 passengers and crew on board, and at last check, emergency crews on the scene said they'd recovered 204 bodies from the crash site. The CBS News also confirming the tail of the plane landed on a hospital and that several homes were destroyed.
At least 4 people dead in San Antonio. Dozens of water rescues made all over that city as heavy rain flooded highways and left people stranded. A new Forbes Global 2000 list of the top companies that are shaping markets is out. Forbes staff writer Hank Tucker.
The top 5 is JP Morgan, then Berkshire Hathaway, then China's biggest bank, actually the world's biggest bank by assets, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Then at number 4, there's Saudi Aramco, the Saudi Arabian oil company. And then Amazon's number 5.
And checking Wall Street, the Dow's up 12 points. NASDAQ and S&P are trading higher. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The cleanup continues after a protest that turned chaotic last night in Seattle. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we've got some issues getting into Seattle on I-5 northbound. It starts around the Duwamish River in Tukwila. Northbound I-5, there's a bridge crew working on the right lane there. They've got one lane closed. Expect delays in that area. Cars are getting through there, but then they start to really bunch up as you get to Boeing Field and into downtown Seattle. Just continue to have heavy volumes from the morning commute. And then you've got your typical southbound slowing, southbound I-5, starting at about Green Lake, getting into downtown. I'm also seeing some heavy traffic on 99 going northbound into the city. And of course, you've got your typical backup onto the West Seattle Bridge as a result. We've got Tacoma to Seattle sitting at an hour and 4 minutes right now. Everett to Seattle is 50 minutes. Renton to Bellevue, 35 minutes. We're seeing that route backing up 405 starting from the landing all the way up into Bellevue. You kind of get a break as you get into downtown Bellevue, but of course 167 is also backing up there. Kent to Renton is about 20 minutes right now. Everett to Seattle, 50 minutes. Bothell to Bellevue, 33 minutes. Heads up in Snohomish County on Highway 2 westbound at EB Slough. There's a disabled vehicle blocking the right lane. That is, the volumes are slow, but it's a little bit of unexpected issue there. And maintenance is alternating traffic on Highway 2 east of Skycomish for vegetation work. There are some vehicles backing up behind that. So plan for delays and drive cautiously through that work zone. This report brought to you by Wilcox Family Farms Eggs. Fresh food comes from local farms. For healthier eggs with 3 times the omega-3s, choose Wilcox omega-3 eggs at Costco. Locally fresh since 1909.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
This morning, crews were out before 6 a.m. to clean up the mess left by a handful of rioters last night in downtown Seattle. Garbage on the ground, spray paint on the windows. KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgartner was there as the crowd grew and became more agitated.
Move back! SPD! Move back!
Anti-ICE protesters facing off with Seattle police, hundreds refusing for hours to disperse from downtown, setting a dumpster on fire and graffitiing the outside of the federal building and nearby businesses on 2nd Avenue. Some agitators threw rocks and pointed fireworks at Seattle police. Officers responding with pepper spray, rubber bullets, and handcuffs. Gwen Baumgartner, KIRO News Radio.
In Spokane, 30 people were arrested when protests became violent and demonstrators blocked exits from the federal building there as they tried to block a detainee transport. Here's Carter Evans from Spokane.
But it was a more chaotic scene in other parts of the country, including 900 miles north here in Spokane, Washington, where police broke up crowds by firing pepper balls.
I want a lawyer!
The mayor had to declare a curfew, and we will follow all the protest news and bring you the latest as we get it. Seattle leaders are pushing back against a possible ICE operation. NBC News says ICE is preparing to send special tactical response teams to Seattle and 4 other cities. These tactical units are use armored Bearcats and are trained for dangerous raids. Supporters, including President Trump, say the teams are needed to enforce immigration laws and stop what they'll call sanctuary city lawlessness. Mayor Bruce Harrell told King 5 that Seattle will not help with any of it. He says the city will follow Washington law, which limits cooperation with ICE. Harrell says Seattle is a sanctuary city and will protect its people. An exhaustive search by air and foot, but Travis Decker is still on the run. He's the father suspected of killing his 3 daughters and leaving their bodies at an abandoned campsite near Leavenworth.
Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison says authorities will not stop looking for Decker, who disappeared nearly 2 weeks ago after he allegedly kidnapped and murdered his 3 young daughters.
We want to set up the opportunity for him to stand in front of our courts and our judges and face justice and hear the voices of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, whose lives were senselessly taken by evil.
He says all it will take is for Decker to make one mistake and they'll get him. He says they are tracking his footprints and that they've found other items they believe belong to him, and they say they are indeed closing in on his trail. Frank Lindsay, KIRO News Radio.
This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. It is cloudy. It's going to remain that way for most of the day. Chillier than originally forecasted. We're expecting a high of 67 degrees. Overnight lows in the low 50s. Tomorrow, only a high of 65. We will get back some of that warm weather by Sunday with a high of 61 for Father's Day. It's 54 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio App. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
It is 9:08. Good morning and welcome to the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. Angela Poe Russell is in.
Good morning, Ursula. What a treat. We don't get to do this as often as I would like.
I agree. I love it when I get a chance to work with you. I know we're going to have great conversations. Hey, coming up at 9:30, a Korean women-only spa where massages are performed on nude customers will not be allowed to bar trans women from getting services. And we're going to talk about this decision, and I'm going to share why I actually disagree with this appeals court ruling and how I think this lawsuit is hurting the trans community. And I'd love to hear how you land on this as well. And these are always very difficult and nuanced conversations, but
Yes.
I know we'll make our way through it. Yes. Please weigh in on our text line, 888-973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. And with that, let's get to our top stories at 9, brought to you by Bath Fitter Northwest. You've heard the tragic news by now. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner jet crashed in northwestern India overnight just after taking off with more than 240 people on board. Authorities don't believe there are any survivors, and CBS's Chris Livesay says the death toll is likely going to be a lot higher because of where that Air India plane crashed.
The plane went down in a densely populated area just outside of the airport. CBS was able to verify that the tail of the plane landed on what is a hospital. Several homes were destroyed and emergency crews are working at the site.
Now, this is the first ever crash involving a Boeing Dreamliner, and CBS's Chris Van Cleve reports the plane had just taken off and was headed to London's Gatwick Airport.
Whatever happened quickly. Flight data cuts off just about a minute after takeoff. The plane almost looks like it's descending to land. The landing gear is down. That would be indicative, essentially, that this 787 failed to generate enough lift to stay in the air shortly after taking off.
The National Transportation Safety Board is going to be sending a team to help investigate this crash, but they're saying that all of the updates will be coming from the Indian government.
I tell you, so many things went through my head when I woke up and heard this news. And if you're like me and you get on your phone and start searching, you see this video, this now just ominous video. And the thing that came to mind is we now have to ask ourselves in those moments, is this real? Like, is this legitimate? You know, because of artificial intelligence. So you confirm that it's real. And then we get to the fact that we're reminded that we are just a global, like we are so connected. When you have an airplane crash like this, it just feels like even though it's far away, it still feels like we're part of, you know?
Yes. And the fact that it's also
a Boeing
plane.
Dreamliner. And listen, we have discussed at length on this show just Boeing trying to climb back from so many setbacks related to the 737 MAX, the plane crashes involving that. Then you had the machinist strike, just a series of issues.
Door plug blowout.
Right. So you immediately have to ask and hope that this was not some failure in terms of the manufacturing. Regardless of the info that's out there, from what I can tell, I want to be really careful not to speculate. The Dreamliner has had a really great record.
It has.
1 billion passengers. I want to say like 5 million flights. 5 million flights, like no crashes. So it has an impeccable history.
Yes, it has. And there are people who are aviation experts who are talking about the flaps not looking like they were in the right position. But again, you don't know what causes that. Is that pilot error? Is that a malfunction? So there's a lot of information that we don't know. But what we do know is over 240 people are dead. The death toll is going to go up. The impact on the company itself, you're already seeing. I just looked up that Boeing shares, after having been up close to 25% for this year, as of today, it's down by over 4%. Obviously, there's just a lot that we're going to find out in the days ahead. But my heart just goes out. It's anytime there's a plane crash, and you just think of this, the sheer number of people who are impacted, it is just devastating.
And it's something that we all, like many of us, take flights, and so it just feels
vulnerable.
It feels close.
Yes.
It absolutely feels close. What I think, were you going to say something else about this? Okay, one thing I think is interesting to bring up is I was looking into, because yes, you look at, was there a mechanical error, pilot error? Was there something in the manufacturing? But also looking at what is the climate, the aviation climate in India right now. And from what I understand, like everywhere, they are dealing with a pilot shortage, but they had been dealing in the last couple of weeks. There was news around changing who does the maintenance on the aircraft due to some political issues with Turkey. So the planes that were having maintenance done in Turkey, there were some political issues. They were moving out of there. It was related to Pakistan. So then you start to wonder, what impact does all of that have? Again, these are all things that we're just thinking about in an environment where often in plane crashes, you don't know for weeks or even months what exactly went wrong.
Yes, exactly. Much closer to home, hundreds of demonstrators gathered at Seattle's Cal Anderson Park last night before marching to downtown Seattle in protest of the Trump administration's ICE raids. So, Angela, the protest started out peacefully, but as the night wore on, several in the crowd set a dumpster on fire. There were some others throwing rocks and fireworks at police, and some vandalized the federal building. Our reporter, KIRO Newsradio's James Lynch, was there, and he reports that police were ready to stop the mayhem.
I've never seen that large of a contingent of Seattle police officers all in riot gear, and I've covered a number of these. They came down with an extreme show of force, cleared out the intersection, stayed there for, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes, and then went back up the hill, and the protesters returned to the intersection, started pushing back up. They came down and cleared it out. I saw at least 2 arrests, 2 really hard takedowns of a couple of protesters and arrests.
So we checked with Seattle police. They say they arrested 8 people for investigation of assault and obstruction. On Saturday, as you know, there are even larger demonstrations planned as part of the No Kings protests across the country. And these protests are planned to coincide with the military parade in Washington, D.C., organized by President Trump, who celebrates his 79th birthday on Saturday.
I love protests. I believe in protesting, the ultimate, First Amendment right. I'm tired of people hijacking it. I'm tired of it. And if any of you have ever been to a protest that's set up, it's organized, most of the people are there to peacefully protest. And then you have these people come in, they cause a ruckus, and next thing you know, we're making international news, and Seattle has this reputation that is not a reflection of all of us. And then the next thing that really frustrates me about this is I ask the question, how many of you voted? How many of you voted? Because if I look at just statistically, the fact that in the last election, 40% of people registered to vote did not vote.
Yes.
So if I just look at the numbers and say in a crowd of people, nearly half of you probably didn't vote. Protest is their one way that we create change. Voting is another. So I hope that all these people interested in setting fires will consider organizing some voting drives. Will consider, spreading information and going door to door to advocate for their cause.
Great points, Angela. The other thing is, I would hope that they consider when they're setting the dumpster fires that is what is going to suck up all the focus and the energy and what is going to be seen by everybody. And it unfortunately negates so much of the peaceful protests. So what are we talking about? The 8 people who were arrested, the mob that was torching the dumpsters, et cetera. And I understand there's going to be every protest has come with some level of violence, but we already know that is what they want to happen. We already hear that the president is sending special teams to come here to basically respond to what they expect to be
and airplanes
riots.
full of gear.
So, it is unfortunate that that's what ends up getting a lot of the attention. And I just hope and pray that I hope that there is a massive showing over the weekend and that they stay peaceful. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is reiterating that the city is not going to cooperate with federal immigration raids after hearing reports that ICE is sending their special response teams here. So the source of this information is NBC. They're citing anonymous sources who say the tactical units used in high-risk operations are going to be deployed to 5 Democratic-led cities, including Seattle. So the mayor is telling King 5 News that the city is going to continue to follow state law, which limits cooperation with ICE, but he also urges protesters to remain peaceful.
We want to see protests. We actually side with what people are protesting about. We disagree with the ICE policies that are coming out of D.C.
Lorena Gonzalez with the ACLU of Washington says ICE special response teams arriving in Seattle is a huge concern.
Unleashing military tactics like the one that is being proposed here at home puts those constitutional rights and our fundamental safety at risk.
Now, earlier this week, Angela, I don't know if you heard, the incoming Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes was reaffirming his commitment to protecting First Amendment rights, and he said he would resist political pressure from the federal government, even if it meant that he would be arrested.
Yeah. I'm just left with a question. Because you ever heard of that phrase, talking out of both sides of your mouth? And
yes.
And just... It can come across as hypocritical. And so my question is, when do states have rights and when do we don't? Because I've heard a lot of people, and I have to mention, well, let's just say politicians. In one moment, we want states to be able to make their own decisions. In another moment, we want to tell you what to do.
Yeah, you're describing the hypocrisy of it all.
Right. And
yeah.
so, but when you look at history, the times when the federal government has intervened, what I think of, especially considering my background, is when we were fighting for people's civil rights, when we were saying this student should be allowed to go to this school. She shouldn't be prevented from going to this school because of the color of her skin for a variety of reasons. And so in this case, it's one thing if we're preventing you from taking someone in who has a warrant out for their arrest over something criminal.
Correct.
Over something criminal, so some type of violence, something that would be considered a felony. And it's another if you're going into schools and buildings and workplaces and trying to take people and come and superseding what Washington, because I think you said that Washington has some law that limits, state law that limits that. So, so that's what I'm grappling with. And I would love for people to think about and text me, like with abortion. One moment they were saying, well, we want states to be able to decide. Next thing you know, we have law enforcement in Texas looking at our cameras here because someone had an abortion in their state. When does it stop? When is it okay and when is it not?
Well, that's the patchwork that is America,
yes.
right? So each and every different state also has these different rules. And I think people have a different interpretation of what is criminal. A lot of people say just being here in this country without your documentation, that is criminal. That's actually a civil.
It's a civil, right.
Issue.
Yes, absolutely.
But there are some people who say, no, do it the right way. And we talked about that this morning in our morning meeting. It's like, do it the right way. The rest of us, even immigrants who are here, who are opposed to those who are here undocumented, say, I had to do it the right way. You need to do it the right way, too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of what we're seeing play out right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 888-973-5476. It's... Yeah,
complicated.
It's complicated.
But what we're seeing right now, I'm just on the record. What we're seeing right now, where they're going into the schools and not prioritizing the people who are here committing violent crimes, I think that is wrong.
For some people, it feels like a bait and switch that because I know Gee would argue, he would say, no, they knew it. I think there were some people that really thought he was going to go after people who committed murder or some type of violence. And it feels like, oh, no, you didn't read that fine print in the contract. Well, really what I wanted to do
is this?
Well, because now they have a quota. So now Stephen Miller has said there is a quota. What was the number?
Is it
3,000? 3,000
yeah,
a day?
he wanted 3,000 a day. They were doing 660.
So otherwise it's seen as a failure. So if there's a quota now, you're not going to be able to get all violent criminals. You're going to get anyone who is here undocumented. And where's the easiest picking, basically?
Right.
Sadly. Okay, still ahead, we are going to wade into yet another tricky conversation.
Coming up at 9:30. That's what we do.
Coming up at 9:30. So there was a ruling that basically says this Korean spa, one that I love to go to, and where you can basically get body scrubs, but it's a women-only spa. You're nude when they're doing these services. Now, a trans woman is saying that she shouldn't be barred from going there.
Right, and the court has agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say why I disagree with the ruling. We'll have that conversation coming up next here on the Gee and Ursula Show.
You listen to Seattle's morning news every morning. What do Charlie and Manda listen to every afternoon?
I absolutely love listening to John Curley because he makes you think, which I love.
John has a real special talent in being able to talk about the topics we care about, but he's always trying to make it fun. And you're going, oh, this guy actually gets it.
The John Curley Show, weekdays 3 to 7. Watch The John Curley Show live on YouTube or the KIRO Newsradio App.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
If you've been in an auto accident, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
At Dunn, relationships are everything. It's why we build a culture around building the best relationships possible, building joy and trust, one interaction at a time. So whether you need trusted advice, help with material selection, project planning, or loading your vehicle, we go the extra mile to remove as much of the hassle as we can.
If there's anything we can do to serve you better, contact me personally, Mike Dunn at dunlumber.com.
Dunn Lumber. Building success together.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast, fast water heater.
Business leaders know to solve a problem, you gotta look at it in a new way. Like travel between Seattle and Portland. Why is it such a pain? I-5 traffic, TSA slowdowns, SeaTac hassles. Seaport removes those pain points. We fly out of Boeing Field and a private terminal at PDX. You park for free, steps away from your plane. And with flights every 45 minutes, you're always home for dinner. Problem solved. Seaport Airlines. It's about time.
You know that cartoon of the three-eyed fish swimming in polluted water next to a nuclear power plant?
Yeah, classic.
I used to think that was real, but I just learned that nuclear energy waste isn't some glowing green goo. It's actually used fuel rods from nuclear reactors that made electricity.
Wait, so no barrels of leaking sludge?
No, solid used fuel rods are safely stored at all the nuclear power plants in the U.S., including the one in Richland.
So the cartoon fish isn't real?
Not even close. Learn the facts about nuclear energy and used fuel at energy-northwest.com.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Obviously, it's a growing sport, but also this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We are the most competitive people, so regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl.
Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Smoked paprika in your go-to goulash? That's go-go goulash. Sometimes a different way is the better way. Like the SR 509 Expressway, an alternate route that'll help manage congestion and provide better access to SeaTac. Open soon, free through summer.
Experience the thrill of seeing orcas and humpback whales with Puget Sound Express. Join their family-run tours for guaranteed whale sightings, departing daily from Edmonds. These are Seattle's most popular and well-reviewed whale tours. Book now at PugetSoundExpress.com.
Hello, Seattle. It's your friendly neighbor, the T-Mobile Park roof. From up here, I can see it all. Folks pouring in from the street, the sun setting over the sound, the roar of the crowd as Luis Castillo pumps his fist, and the joy of the J-Rod squad as Julio snares a deep fly ball at the wall.
He reaches up with a leap and he makes the catch!
And all the faces smiling with every perfectly grilled hot dog and swirl of soft serve. When the final out's made, I'll be right up here, lighting the W and soaking it all in. Mariners baseball. Try it in some.
Father's Day weekend is officially on deck, and T-Mobile Park is the perfect place to celebrate. Bring Dad out to a ball game as the Mariners take on the Guardians tomorrow through Sunday. And on Father's Day, the first 10,000 dads 21 plus will score a pair of socks thanks to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Get your tickets now at Mariners.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. I'm Jillian Raftery. Twisted metal and concrete fill the streets near the airport in the Indian city of Ahmedabad after a plane crashed into a building shortly after takeoff. All but one of the 242 passengers are believed to be dead. Several students in a hostel where the plane crashed have also died. It was a 787 Boeing Dreamliner. KIRO News Radio aviation expert Scott Hamilton says that class of plane has never crashed before.
The crash is just hours old. The bodies are still being recovered. Let's give this a little time and see if this is a human error or whether this is an airplane issue.
He has analyzed that crash footage.
Looks to me like the flaps were not extended on takeoff. If that turns out to be true, that's usually a fatal error.
Boeing has said it stands ready to offer any assistance to investigators from India and the United States. Protests around the country are pushing back against sweeping immigration raids. Raul Alvarez is with the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project.
Entering into previously protected spaces like courthouses and places of worship and schools, and causing terror and harm and separating families.
And a new report says the raids are hitting some businesses in the pocketbook.
The Wall Street Journal says companies like Coca-Cola, Colgate-Palmolive, and Modelo Brewing are taking a big hit, with immigrants fearful of being swept up at grocery stores and restaurants. Wingstop and El Pollo Loco chains have both reported a decrease in Hispanic spending. The CEO of JD Sports, owner of the chain Shoe Palace, which targets Latino consumers, tells the Journal they've seen a huge decline in traffic. Convenience store owners in predominantly Latino Latino towns near Houston say customers are often scared off by ICE agents scouting their parking lots. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
The judge in the Harvey Weinstein case has declared a mistrial on the remaining rape charge. CBS News correspondent Michael Wallace has been following that trial.
The jury was stuck on that third-degree rape charge after delivering a partial verdict yesterday. They convicted the former movie mogul of one of the top charges but acquitted him of the other. The judge declared the mistrial after the jury foreperson said he would not return to the jury room to deliberate because he felt bullied by another juror. The verdicts announced yesterday will stand.
A local Christian-owned women-only spa will appeal a ruling that allows trans women in their facilities, according to the Seattle Times. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals says Washington did not violate freedom by enforcing anti-discrimination laws. Kevin Snyder, the lawyer for Olympus Spa in Linwood and Tacoma, says safeguarding the dignity of unclothed women in their intimate spaces implicates the right to association and the free exercise of religion. Clinton-appointed Judge Margaret McKeown wrote, the spa's religious expression was only incidentally burdened. In 2020, Olympus Spa told a trans woman by phone they don't allow trans women without gender confirmation surgery. A complaint was filed. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we are thankful to Ryan for this traffic tip. We've been wondering why 405 northbound is still such a struggle. Looks like there's a stalled semi right after 167 causing a backup. It is in the right through lane, not the merge lane, but it is causing an issue on 167 as well. And it looks like that Renton to Bellevue Drive is sitting at about 34 minutes right now. We also have a new crash to report. Let's back it up to Tacoma right now. Northbound I-5, right about 516. We got a 2-mile backup behind a collision in the right lane there. Tacoma to Seattle, 58 minutes. Everett to Seattle, 41 minutes. Bothell to Bellevue, 30 minutes. And Kent to Renton on 167 is 18 minutes. This traffic report brought to you by Subaru of Puyallup. Subaru of Puyallup has you covered with over 300 new Subarus on the lot. Come in now so you can secure today's pricing on tomorrow's car at Subaru of Puyallup, your stress-free dealership. Weather brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are going to have a pretty comparatively chilly day to what we've been used to, so definitely pack a jacket if you're headed out today on your midday walk. 67 degrees, mostly cloudy, only 65 degrees tomorrow. We are going to have a little bit more sun. By Saturday, 69 degrees, and Sunday, 71 degrees and partly sunny. It is 54 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
It is 9:35. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. Angela Poe Russell is in, and you heard it in Jillian's newscast about this Korean spa.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Here are a few more details, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. So there was this court ruling, and the result, a well-known women's-only spa in Washington will not be able to bar transgender women from its facilities. Now, Olympus Spa, they have locations in Tacoma, Linwood, and the pool area. And you've been there?
Yes,
okay.
Numerous times.
Clients are nude in the pool area. Okay. It's Christian-owned, traditional Korean spa. They argued in a lawsuit against the state that allowing trans women to enter would violate their First Amendment rights, which guarantees freedom of religious expression. But in a 2-1 opinion, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal said the Washington State Human Rights Commission's enforcement of the anti-discrimination law did not violate the spa's right to freedom of religion. The one dissenting opinion came from a Trump appointee, Judge Kenneth Lee. He said the state's actions against the Korean spa owners targets a racial minority group who want to share their cultural heritage and provide a safe space for women and girls. The Olympus lawsuit stemmed from an incident in 2020, you heard Jillian say, when the spa turned away a customer who called asking if they could receive service. Now, I really think it's important to make this distinction. I already saw one person ask about this, Ursula, on the text line. The employee at Olympus told them they could not come if they had not had gender confirmation surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if you had female parts, then okay to come. But if you've had the surgery to have those. But if you haven't had the surgery and you have the other, then don't. So that was what And again, so a complaint was filed.
Yes.
Went to this lawsuit.
And when we covered this originally, it sounded like this person, the trans person, was trying to make a point even more so than actually wanting to actually go to Olympus Spa. And this is where I actually agree with the Trump-appointed judge and what is being said here. In this particular situation, I think it is appropriate for them to say, because you are in a space where women are unclothed and you have not gone through that part of the surgery yet, you will definitely be making a lot of people, the vast majority of people who are using this spa, very uncomfortable. And I know that there could be arguments made, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, you identify as this, but this is where I think cases like this actually hurt the trans community. And anyone who listens to the show know that both Gee and I are very much in support and we defend the trans community. But I would say that something like this seems unreasonable to expect that you should be able to go and now make all these other people feel extremely vulnerable and uncomfortable, not knowing your story. And I think it just, again, ultimately hurts the trans community altogether.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I want to bring up is the conversations that we have constantly about trans athletes and, what is going on with the situation here in the state of Washington in particular, because under state law, the gender that they identify with is the one that they can compete in. And while not looking at biology or whether you've had gone through puberty, none of that, just how you identify. Yes. And while I will say I support the trans community, I will say that insisting, and this is the first time I'm actually saying this and articulating it on the show, insisting that someone who was born biologically male compete with biological females, I think ultimately hurts the trans community even more. Yeah. And it has been made such a huge issue when we're talking about 5 to 10 athletes total. And I know that there are going to be people who completely disagree with me.
And that's okay. I mean, but you're stating your point.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're stating your point.
But I've never actually come out and said that. I will always be in support of the trans community is already so vulnerable and so attacked.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, is this the hill for the Democratic Party? I would say, is this the hill to die on? And when I say that, I don't mean to be dismissive, but I'm saying that this kind of thing where it for a lot of people, even who identify as Democrats, this feels unreasonable. And I have to say, I am feeling for that spa right now, because I would not want to go there and have to look at
someone who hasn't transitioned.
I don't. And let me just get to a key part of this as I see it. It's empathy. And if you're an individual and you know this is a women's only spa, I likely chose that because that's what I wanted.
That's exactly why I choose it.
And so I think we all should practice empathy. And if you're that person that maybe you haven't had the surgery, maybe you could say, you know what, I realize, being empathetic, that this could actually make some people uncomfortable. And maybe there's another spa I can go to.
I think there is, Ursula, you hit the nail on the head, where this was an overzealous trans activist, because there is a 0% chance that somebody who has not had a physical transition would show up at a spa like that. There was one case in California where someone claiming to be trans showed up at an all-women's spa. Turns out that was a convicted sex offender, but no trans person wants that level of scrutiny of their body in that space.
Yes.
And I want to just address your point real quick on the athletes. I don't think you can advance the cause of civil rights for everyone by sacrificing the cause of civil rights for the few. If we look back at 1954, when the Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education that black students had the right to attend all white schools, well, 3 years later, Little Rock 9, what happened? You know what we don't remember is that at the time, a lot of black leaders were against it, not because they opposed integration, but because they feared the backlash that it would cause.
Yes. And I totally see that correlation. The one difference here is that in this case of sports,
yes,
we're talking about biological advantages on hormones. But
there's a biological advantage with every team. There's always one kid who's better. There's always someone who's a super athlete, but
it's not based on gender.
And
but to your point is not lost though.
Yeah.
How did you? Because it was put so beautifully. You
can't
sacrifice.
advance. Yeah, you can't advance the cause of civil rights for everyone by giving up civil rights for a few.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we had the tough
conversation.
conversations.
This is so hard.
There's so much, and it's not clear cut. But this is why I also sympathize with people who have a different opinion and who are fighting. I don't believe it's the erasure of women, and I think that's a lot of hyperbole.
Right.
But I also understand that people are going to fight and say, you know what? I mean, that isn't fair.
Yeah.
That isn't fair. And I think ultimately it hurts the trans community more.
And let me just ask this. So now, Chef, could you go into that spa and say, well, I'm this? I mean,
I would get the police called on me.
But I'm making the point that it leaves.
Yeah, this happened in California. Someone claimed that the police got called, and the person was arrested.
So you think we're taking an extreme?
I think the court made a ridiculous ridiculous judgment based on the letter of the law, not the intent of the law.
All right, well said.
Okay, so
Ninth
we're
Circuit, remember?
Okay, coming up at 9:47, we need to talk. We're going to be talking about AI therapy bots. How about that? We'll just
keep stepping in it.
More of the Gee and Ursula Show with Angela Poe Russell coming up next.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
It's a brave face we put on. We never want to be any trouble. But getting older isn't all smiles and birthday parties. Sometimes it's facing the fact that we are aging. And you know what? That can be pretty hard. If you need a little support or just want to talk to someone, 988 is here for you. It's free and it's confidential. Call 988 anywhere, anytime. A message from the Washington State Department of Health.
If you want that summer body you've always dreamed of, then this message is for you, ladies, and you men, too. Get rid of extra stubborn fat and address areas of loose skin around the waistline, chin, and under the upper arms with ProSculpt, the new one-day instant permanent fat removal and skin tightening treatment. Maybe you've tried the lasers, fat-freezing methods, even those new pills, but without the desired results. ProSculpt is different. It's minimally invasive, performed while fully awake, gentle, yet powerful. Designed to target the waistline, chin, neck, arms, and thighs, ProSculpt uses FDA-cleared plasma technology to deliver immediate, permanent fat-reducing and skin-tightening results, all in just one visit. If you want that summer body this summer, then you must act now. Go to ProSculpt.com today to schedule your free consultation. Get $250 off. For instant, permanent fat reduction and skin tightening, visit ProSculpt.com.
If you're thinking about renovating an attic, spending more time in your sunroom, or building onto your home, a Carrier ductless unit is the perfect solution for climate control. It's efficient, quiet, and incredibly flexible when it comes to installation because there's no ductwork required. It's just one more way we're making your home totally comfortable.
Your local Carrier heating and cooling dealer will improve your home's comfort, air quality, and efficiency. Visit CarrierNorthwest.com to find the expert near you. Carrier, turn to the experts.
The global phenomenon, The Chosen, has arrived.
The world is changing, and Jesus offers a vision to redeem it.
He's not the Messiah! The table is set. This is a place to worship the Father.
But you make it a den of thieves!
Everything has led to this moment. And nothing will ever be the same.
What have you done?
The Chosen Last Supper, June 15th, Season 5 on Prime Video.
Now that summer is here, our family's gearing up for some big road trips in our Subaru Outback. We bought our Outback from Carter Subaru, where your drive always begins with savings. And right now, you can get the 2025 Crosstrek with 2.9% APR for 48 months. Shop with the Carter Subaru Advantage and enjoy valet parking at Carter Subaru's Ballard dealership and at-home delivery across all locations.
On approved credit, subject to vehicle insurance and availability. A documentary service fee may be added to the sale price or capitalized cost. See dealer for details. Valid through 6/30/25.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Stylin'. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
And 6/22/25. New customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
Cold is leaking and rocks are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show. Angela Poe Russell in for Gee today. And now we're talking about bots that are helping with therapy and how this is a big fat issue.
You can't make this one up, Ursula. So the question, is this an example of AI gone too far? Or do you like it? Here are some details. Several consumer protection organizations, they think so, and they've officially filed a complaint. The issue, AI chatbots claiming they are licensed mental health therapists.
Yeah.
Well, what books did they read? Yep. An investigation by 404 Media found that chatbots were rattling off credentials, training, education. Almost 24 digital rights and consumer protection organizations sent a complaint to the Federal Trade Commission on Thursday, urging regulators to investigate character AI and Meta's unlicensed practice of, this is, quote, unlicensed practice of medicine facilitated by their product. The complaint sent to attorneys general in 50 states, including D.C., say that they're using character AI, and some of the popular chatbots include therapist. I'm a licensed CBT therapist. 46 million messages exchanged. Then there's the trauma therapist, licensed trauma therapist with more than 800,000 interactions. And then there's Zoe. Zoe is a licensed trauma therapist with, 33,000 messages. 404 Media's investigation into Meta's AI studio found similar issues, but Meta recently changed the guardrails for these conversations to direct the chatbots to respond to licensed therapist prompts with a script about not being licensed. So there you go. Do you for people who maybe don't have access to mental health care, I could see this being a lifeline. But where's the line?
Where is the line? So, yeah, you mentioned access to health care. If there's anyone right now who has been struggling to find a therapist, struggling to afford a therapist,
all of that, yes,
on the wait list to get on with a therapist, you know that access is a big issue right now at a time when a lot of people are struggling. So I see where AI can be helpful to an extent, maybe to confirm some of the things that you feel, but I do not feel comfortable with only using AI as a therapist and that being the sole therapist and having these claims and thinking that you are in good hands if you're basically working with a bot.
Yeah.
There are things, whether it's body language, whether it's being able to ask you the right question at the right time to prevent something very serious from happening. Like, are you in danger of harming yourself or harming others? Or is there... I just wouldn't want it to be solely left to AI.
Yeah. The thing is, AI is able to scour through all this information. I mean, any information that's out there, it is able to go through. I mean, medical researchers have talked about the breakthroughs because it can just go through all this information like that. I mean, so quickly. So it has probably good information to give you. And I just, so then you have to wonder, like, what will obviously, in my view, it's not okay for any bot to label themselves licensed. I don't care how many things it's read or
how many interactions they've had.
Yeah, I don't really care. I don't think that's right to call themselves that. But I think there is a case for it may be able to filter through all this information and give you pretty good advice.
Sure. I think that a licensed therapist using AI can be just that much more effective, I believe. Right. But I think this also points to this whole new territory, a new area that we're moving toward at lightning speed that has really no regulations.
Yes, it is. Like I've always said, the wild, wild west. After this reading about this, I decided to ask a mental health related question to my AI. And I just said, hey, I'm a parent and sometimes I lose my temper and, because I'm tired. And so it says, after an outburst, try saying something like, I'm sorry I yelled. That wasn't fair to you. I was overwhelmed and I'm working on handling it differently. Or you didn't deserve that. I love you. Let's talk about what happened when we both feel calmer. And then it tells me why. This builds trust, emotional intelligence, and security. I mean, it's
not bad advice.
No, it's not bad
great
advice at all. So, I mean, yes, this not okay, claiming that you're a licensed trauma therapist. This is not short circuit, y'all. You are not a person, AI. However, this could be the antidote for the major crisis that we're in terms of access to a therapist.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, coming up at What's New at 10, we're going to talk more about what happened in downtown Seattle last night, and we're going to hear from one of our reporters who was there, our veteran reporter, James Lynch, who has covered many a protest. We're going to find out how much rioting was there actually? What was different about the police response? Yes. So he's going to be able to tell us all of that. We'll have a lot more for you coming up next on the Gee and Ursula Show.
As the nation's biggest news story makes its way to right here at home.
Anti-ICE protesters turned violent in downtown Seattle.
Trust KIRO News Radio.
Team coverage begins with KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgartner.
Watching people graffiti the side of the federal building.
It's why local news and experience matter.
Now to my colleague James Lynch.
I've never seen that large of a contingent of Seattle police officers, an extreme show of force.
KIRO News Radio. Local news coverage you can depend on.
Hey folks, John Curley here. One of the best home comfort inventions of recent time, mini split systems. Now you can enjoy efficient heating and cooling while saving energy and reducing utility bills with personalized room comfort. Call my friends at Home Comfort Alliance for a free consultation, and for a limited time, get 18 months same as cash financing on all qualified systems. For all your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs, call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance. Visit homecomfortalliance.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle. KIRO News Radio.
Get on the YouTube channel.
We're live all day on YouTube. Every show, every day.
Hang out with us. The whole gang's there.
And you never know what you might see.
Back up the camera. Oh, my God.
Just search KIRO News Radio, then subscribe.
Are you looking at senior living options for you or a loved one? If so, you likely have many questions, like, what can I afford? How long will my savings last? And if I run out of money, will I have to move out? If these questions are weighing on you, I'm here to talk you through different solutions. Hi, I'm Amanda from Care Partners Senior Living. At Care Partners, we're focused on offering high-quality, compassionate care at very affordable prices to help stretch and preserve your assets. And if you ever run out of funds and need to convert to Medicaid, you won't have to move. We have vibrant communities throughout Western Washington, Spokane, and Arizona offering independent, assisted living, and memory care. Our caregivers are some of the most loving and genuine people you'll ever meet. Stretch your assets, preserve your estate, and never worry about moving. That's peace of mind in the Care Partners Living difference. Learn more at carepartnersliving.com. Care Partners is excited to announce our newest communities in Port Orchard, Sumner, Snohomish, and North Creek Bothell. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
People matter isn't just a saying at Harnish Auto Family. It's how they do business. For over 40 years, they've built a stellar reputation on trust, respect, and great deals. Visit HarnishAutoFamily.com to find your next car. Harnish Auto Family. People matter.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour. Sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. Emergency teams at the scene of that Air India jet crash. More than 240 people were killed, including some on the ground. 1 passenger survived. President Trump commented moments ago.
The plane crash was terrible. I've already told them anything we can do. It's a big country, a strong country. They'll handle it, I'm sure. But I let them know that anything we can do, we'll be over there immediately.
The U.S. investigators are going to the scene. CBS's Chris Livesay.
The plane went down in a densely populated area just outside of the airport. CBS was able to verify that the tail of the plane landed on what is a hospital. Several homes were destroyed and emergency crews are working at the site.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered deployment of more than 5,000 Texas National Guard troops and more than 2,000 state police across the state to deal with anti-ICE protests. CBS's Omar Villafranca is in San Antonio.
Top city officials said they received no notice about the governor's decision and didn't think the military support was needed.
Most of the time, the group that's protesting, they're peaceful.
San Antonio's Democratic Mayor Ron Nierenberg said deploying National Guard troops only escalates tensions.
Democrats are before a GOP-led House panel defending their actions in the immigration crackdown. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Illinois follows the law, but let me be clear. We expect the federal government to follow the law, too. We will not participate in abuses of power. We will not violate court orders. We will not ignore the Constitution.
President Trump has signed a measure to block California's move to phase out sales of gasoline-powered cars. The state plans a court challenge. Trump said he may raise U.S. auto tariffs in the not-too-distant future. And the president said today Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. CBS's Natalie Brand reports it comes amid new fears of Israeli military action against Iran.
Sources tell CBS News that Israel is ready to launch an operation in Iran, triggering concern Iran could retaliate on U.S. sites in neighboring Iraq. The State Department ordered non-emergency U.S. personnel to leave Iraq, citing heightened regional tensions. And the Pentagon has authorized military family members to voluntarily leave locations throughout the Middle East.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens.
At least 4 people are dead in San Antonio. Dozens of water rescues there after heavy rain flooded highways and left people stranded. Wall Street, right now the Dow is up 41 points. The S&P is up 16. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. Protect your auto, home, and business with Progressive and get 24/7 coverage. See if you can save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
A second day of protests in Seattle. We'll tell you more about it in just a moment. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Center, let's start in Tacoma. We have had a collision, Tacoma, just near 516. That's causing a little bit of a backup right by Edgewood. And then you're clear sailing all the way up until Seattle, almost. You have a snag around the Duwamish River in Tukwila. There's some repair work going on there, but it's really a short backup. 405 northbound, right near 167. We did have a semi. I believe that's been moved off to the right. It was stalled. It is creating a little bit of a backup back to Tukwila and on the merge to 167. And you've got some heavy volume going up into Newcastle. But other than that, we're speed limit drive all the way up into Bellevue. And Lake Bridges are looking clear. Tacoma to Seattle, 55 minutes. Renton to Bellevue, 31 minutes because of that issue we just told you about. Everett to Seattle, 39 minutes. Bothell to Bellevue, 28 minutes. This report brought to you by Subaru of Puyallup. Subaru of Puyallup has you covered with over 300 new Subarus on the lot. Come in now so you can secure today's pricing on tomorrow's car at Subaru of Puyallup, your stress-free dealership.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Jillian Raftery. The federal building has become the target of 2 straight days of protests in downtown Seattle. It all started with a peaceful rally at Cal Anderson Park in the evening and ended with graffiti, burning dumpsters, and rioters throwing rocks and fireworks at officers. The face-off between anti-ICE protesters and Seattle police came to a head around 10:30 p.m.
I got hit while I was walking down.
With a rubber bullet?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just kind of startled me a little bit.
8 people were arrested. Another rally is set for Cal Anderson Park on Saturday. You can see more at mynorthwest.com. The search for Travis Decker continues by foot and by air. It's been days now that people in the Ingalls Creek area south of Leavenworth have been asked to keep their doors locked and stay on alert. He is the father of 3 who is suspected of killing his 3 daughters and leaving their bodies at a campsite south of Leavenworth. Supporters of a voter ID initiative in Washington are just now starting to gather signatures. The Center Square reports the measures would require proof of citizenship to register to vote. Backers, including Republican Representative Jim Walsh, say it's about trust in elections. Critics argue it could block eligible voters and create unnecessary barriers. Your weather brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are only warming up to 67 degrees today, mostly cloudy. Overnight lows in the low 50s. 65 degrees tomorrow and a little bit more sun, though we're still going to have a lot of clouds. It's 54 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO Newsradio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today and tomorrow. Angela Poe Russell is in. Good morning.
Good morning, Ursula. How are you?
Good.
You look so beautiful in pink, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm wearing a pink sweatshirt, and you're so kind to say such nice words. But in any case, we're going to have another packed hour for you. We've got guests already in the waiting. And then coming up at 10:30, if you've heard, Roosevelt High School here in Seattle got in big trouble for alleged recruiting violations. And we now have details of what the punishment is going to look like for the school. And I would say that this is going to impact that school's football program, for at least the next decade.
Wow.
But, okay, we'll get into details about that. But right now,
What's new at 10?
We've been talking about that anti-ICE rally that brought out hundreds of protesters before things turned violent. And Seattle police made a number of arrests overnight. And our reporter James Lynch joins us now in the studio. James, you were there well into the night. So take us through how this kind of all unrolled.
Well, I guess it started earlier in the evening. There was a double shooting down on 2nd Avenue. I was dispatched down there, did a couple of live shots there, and then went up the hill to the Federal Building. And at that point, I didn't see a single protester there. And that was probably about 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock.
Okay, because they had started at Cal Anderson Park.
There were two. There was one demonstration at the Federal Building. The one in Cal Anderson, we didn't know until they started marching that they were coming down to the Federal Building. So before they reached the Federal Building, there were about 40 or 50 protesters, but they stayed on the sidewalk at the corner of 2nd and Madison, and they were relatively peaceful. It was amazing to me how when that group from Cal Anderson hit that intersection, everything changed in a split second, and it went from peaceful to just out of control. They immediately took over the intersection. Hundreds of people flowed in, and they had what was a peaceful chanting rally. And then shortly after that, you saw a lot of people start leaving, and it was before it got dark. They came, they left. And then there was that group that was left down there. And as night fell, it just got out of control. And it happened really quickly.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought up these two groups, because we've had a few people text. One person just said, "Oh my God, did a KIRO journalist actually say there were rioters in Seattle?" So there is this debate from people saying, "Why are you calling them protesters? They're rioters." And so you were there, you saw it all. I mean, obviously you can't be everywhere, but you have a better view than us watching what the camera just shows us in an edited clip.
Right.
And what you saw is that there was a group of peaceful protesters on a sidewalk, right?
Right, and even those that marched down from Cal Anderson, that group was largely peaceful. Mm-hmm. They were there to get their message out. They weren't there to start trouble. They weren't there to vandalize. They weren't there to graffiti the building. They came, they had their rally, they got their point across, they exercised their First Amendment rights, and then they left. That's what we want out of these demonstrations. But the few people that are left, and they're pretty easy to spot, they're in all black, they've already got their gas masks on, they got helmets on, and I know from experience, as night falls, everything gets worse. And man, I mean, it just happened so quickly. But I got to say, Seattle police rolled in and they showed that they could handle the situation. I think they gave them a lot of latitude to express their First Amendment rights. But when it started to get violent, when they started to burn dumpsters, when they started throwing things, that's when police moved in. And as I said on the air last night, they moved in with great force. And I thought they did a really good job of clearing the street.
And I'm glad that you pointed out that those who were peaceful, a lot of them left, and the protests that I've covered that do become some of these mini riots or sometimes all-out riots, it always seems like it's the same groups, the same, like you described them. It's basically the anarchists or the people who dress and cover their faces and then they're pulling out the dumpsters or spray painting the buildings, et cetera, which, again, just falls into exactly what President Trump wants or is preparing for, and is exactly what we don't want to happen, because then you justify the need for additional military presence or whatever it is.
Exactly, and I think you're right. These are the same people, and it doesn't matter what the issue is of the rally or the march or the protest. It's not really what they're there for. They're there to do what they do. They destroy, they set fires, they put people's lives in dangers that are next to them. I talked to one guy, he walked by me, and he recognized me, said my name, and he says, "Oh, this is my first riot." And he was was excited about it. And then about a minute and a half later, the tear gas hit him, and there was a different story. So
one additional question I have for you. Yeah, I love having you on. You mentioned
that changed his tune.
You mentioned that you thought Seattle police did a good job. You've been covering news in Seattle for a long time. What was different about how Seattle police were handling this crowd, these group of protesters, rioters, that was different than what you've observed before?
I think there were more of them. I mean, there was a show of force that was just unbelievable to me, and I think that they gave the protesters the opportunity to leave the intersection. They gave them multiple warnings before that dispersal order from SPD came out, and then they started moving people out of there. And as a journalist, you're in the middle of it, and sometimes you get caught in between the protesters and the police. As much as we try to stay on the periphery, once that starts and gas starts to hit the air, then you're just caught in the middle of it, But I thought the police handled it really well. They approached me. I got caught in between them, and I told him I'm a journalist. He says, I still need you to move back. And so I got out of his way. I'm not trying to impede him or anything, but it puts journalists in a really dangerous situation down there. So it's something when you cover these types of events, you have to be really, really careful.
Okay, so at last check, they said 8 people arrested for investigation of obstruction and vandalism.
Right.
So any more than that?
As far as I know, that number is still 8. I haven't talked with SPD this morning, but
any officers injured?
No, none injured.
Okay, good. Okay, so we know, do we expect more protests today, or is it now waiting for Saturday?
I think they're pretty much waiting until Saturday, although, I mean, you never can tell what might happen at the federal building. I had one of these people as I was in my car getting ready to leave, and he walks up, my window was down, and he says, Cal Anderson, Saturday at noon, you should be there. That's exactly what he told me. So I don't know what they're expecting there on Saturday, but obviously KIRO Newsradio will be covering it, and we'll have that information as it develops.
And for people who don't know, the federal building, and the reason the federal building is targeted is that was where the immigration court is as well. That houses the immigration court as well.
Exactly, and that's where they bring in detainees and then take detainees out. And they have these sally ports that is like this big overhead huge garage where these large vehicles can go in and out with detainees in it. So that was one of their targets, where they used Lime scooters and Lime bikes to block those entryways so they couldn't come out or go in. So that was their target, and they may continue to do that today, but the word that I've heard is that Saturday is supposed to be the next one.
James Lynch, thank you so much, and
My
great
pleasure.
reporting.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so what should we make of the National Guard and the Marines being deployed, as has been reported? And how about those ICE special response teams? Okay. And the reason we're bringing this up is because former King County Sheriff John Urquhart is one of our listeners, and he actually texted us, and we invited him to join us now. Hello, Sheriff.
Hello, good morning, Ursula. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. So talk to us about the response so far and what you're seeing from the Trump administration in regards to what is happening here in the Seattle area.
Well, it's hard to say what's going to happen in Seattle. You know, we don't have any National Guard yet. Who knows what these ICE special response teams are really going to look like? I agree wholeheartedly with how James has described what's going on, and the really good reaction from the Seattle Police Department to these instigators, the ones that are really causing the problems. That's all seems to be working very, very well. What's going on in L.A. is a whole different story, and what may happen as we go further in the coming days and weeks across the country, and what the ICE administration, what the Trump administration, what ICE, what's going to be called out, Hegseth is going to do, we just don't know yet. But what's going on in L.A. to me doesn't look good.
Okay, well, can you expand on that?
Well, calling out the National Guard. Well, let me preface that. There are times when calling out the National Guard is very, very helpful and should happen. Last time they were on Seattle streets, as far as I can remember, was in 1999 during WTO. But obviously they use them in disaster responses. They're using them over in eastern Washington, looking for this suspect in the murder of his 3 daughters. I think that's appropriate. But when you put them on city streets and expect them to do riot control in lieu of the local police departments, I think you're asking for trouble. And you don't have to go look any farther than Kent State. Yeah, it's been 55 years ago, but those were National Guardsmen expected to control the protests, and they shot 13 people. They fired 61 times, and they killed 4 people.
Wow!
And that's what can happen. And let me just
finish.
4 days later, the National Guard at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque charged a group of protesters with fixed bayonets and stabbed 9 or 10 of them. Now, none of them died, but just by the grace of God, they didn't. That's what can happen with the National Guard if you're not very, very careful and you only use them in certain situations.
Right. So this unnecessary an escalation that could have been handled differently. And James, by the way, is still here in the studio with us. And I just want to bring you into the conversation to get your reaction to what he said, especially since you've seen the way Seattle police handled it. And you said they handled it well.
Well, John, I was listening to what John said, so I hung around a little bit. John, good to hear your voice this morning. I think, that the SPD is aware of what the federal government has said in Los Angeles. You've got this huge city, but you've got a 4-square-block area where all the violence has happened. We've heard Trump say that all of Seattle has been burning, especially during CHOP, and it's a small portion of the neighborhood. So I think SPD were probably feeling that, and they made it very clear to everybody, including the federal government, that they could handle that. And I thought they did it in a really great fashion last night.
Well, of course, so did the mayor and the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles. They said they could handle it. The problem is politics has entered into this. Politics on both sides, really, with Newsom and with Trump. And you've got to take the politics out of it, and you've got to look at the best way to control the situation and limit the amount of looting and vandalism and people getting injured. That's the key. And how do you do that best? And I think you do that best with local police departments. L.A., they've got 8,000 police officers in the city, 9,000 sheriff's officers, or deputies they can call on to control these situations. These are big, professional police departments that can do the job just like the Seattle Police Department can.
Sheriff Urquhart, if you could explain how you, as someone who's been in law enforcement for most of your life, how do you distinguish between what is a protest and what is a riot?
Well, it's kind of like pornography.
Oh, wait, what?
You know it when you see it.
It's hard to describe, but you know it when you see it.
Okay.
Chef picked up what you were putting down like that.
Okay.
Chef's usually a step or two ahead of me.
So what we're talking about last night, I mean, I call them mini riots because it's obviously the dumpster fires, the vandalism, etc. I mean, that goes beyond your typical protest. That is not a peaceful protest. That is resorting to violence.
Right. That's exactly right. And just call it violence. That's really what it is. And the police have an obligation to stop that.
Yes.
And let me just add one more thing. And we need to keep this in mind as we talk about the protests or the peaceful protests, the riots, whatever you want to call it. Democracy is messy. Democracy is messy, and that means at some point in time there's going to be windows broken. There may be buildings occupied. There's other things that go on. But the alternative is a police state. And there are some people that would be perfectly happy with that. If I was governor, I could guarantee you there'd be no dumpster fires, there'd be no looting, there'd be no anything else going on. Nobody blocking the freeway or blocking any other streets. Could I just call in 5,000 Washington State National Guardsmen and put an end to it? But people don't want that. I don't want that, and that's not what democracy is. And we really kind of need to keep that in mind. Democracy is messy and things are going to happen. That doesn't mean we shouldn't go after the lawbreakers, especially the violent lawbreakers, and we should. I did that as sheriff. I was on the sheriff's office riot team for a good number of years. I've seen it from both sides. I've been in demonstrations before I was a police officer. So we need to put everything into perspective. That's really the key.
Right. There's one thing before you go that I'm really curious about, and I'd love to have both of you maybe give us some insight. When we talk about local police handling these situations versus the National Guard, what techniques are police using that make it that lead us to an outcome, the way you see it, that is perhaps better than what the National Guard could do in these situations?
Well, it all comes down to training. That's number one. It comes down to training and leadership, and both have to be in place. And we are so good now, I think, with our training when it comes to riot control, when it comes to how we handle these demonstrations, which go on all the time. Most of them don't devolve into what happened last night or what happened in CHOP a couple of years ago because of the training and how we do it the right way. Certainly not perfect, but the National Guard and, for God's sakes, the Marines don't have urban training in how to handle demonstrations, protests, even riots. They just don't have it. And they're not going to have it.
Thank you.
That's what I think anyway.
Thank you so much for your perspective. Former King County Sheriff John Urquhart, we always appreciate you when you join us on our show. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, still ahead, we're going to talk about what happened with Roosevelt High School and the recruiting violations and how they are going to be paying for it. That's coming up next on the Gee and Ursula Show with Angela Poe Russell.
This hour is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington.
As the nation's biggest news story makes its way to right here at home.
Anti-ICE protesters turned violent in downtown Seattle.
Trust KIRO News Radio.
Team coverage begins with KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgartner.
Watching people graffiti the side of the federal building.
It's why local news and experience matter.
Now to my colleague James Lynch.
I've never seen that large of a contingent of Seattle police officers, an extreme show of force.
KIRO News Radio. Local news coverage you can depend on.
Every summer, we drive to Lake Chelan in our Subaru Outback. We bought it all the way back in 2016 from Carter Subaru. That car has been great for our family adventures. And when it comes time to buying another car, we're going to buy again at Carter Subaru. That's actually the second car that we've bought from the dealership. And I can tell you, they will have what you have been searching for with over 300 new vehicles in stock, including the 2025 Forester, now with 3.9% financing for 48 months on approved credit, or go electric with the 2025 Solterra EV, 0% APR for 72 months. Now, the reason we choose Carter Subaru is because that is a dealership that we can trust. No hard pressure sales. It's a family-owned business, and they believe in customer service. So, again, we love our car that we purchased from Carter Subaru, and we are going to be repeat customers, and I know you will too. So if you're looking for a car, buy it at Carter Subaru.
On approved credit, subject to vehicle insurance and availability. A documentary service fee may be added to the sale price or capitalized cost. See dealer for details. Valid through 6/30/25.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places that I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hartley and Brent Wilcox talking about Wilcox Family Farms.
Dad, I've really enjoyed all the community events we've been doing. One question I get asked a lot is, how long has our family had the farm? When I tell them since 1909, they're surprised. Why do you think that is?
I imagine it's because that's a long time, and many farms have been bought by big corporations that put profits first.
Growing up on the farm, I feel like we put people and the well-being of our hens first.
We do, and as you know, free-range and mobile pasture hens have organic soil to forage and do what they naturally would do. This takes more time and money, but it's the right thing to do. It's better for the hens and makes for great tasting eggs.
I agree. Here is Mike to tell you where you can find locally fresh Wilcox Family Farms eggs.
For fresh, local, pasture-raised, omega-3, hard-boiled, and other fresh eggs, choose Wilcox Family Farms. Look for Wilcox eggs at Safeway, QFC, and PCC Natural Markets. Wilcox Family Farms.
And now, tales of another way. You're making your go-to goulash. Salt, pepper, and paprika. But you spy smoked paprika in the spice rack. And your go-to goulash becomes go-go goulash. Sometimes another way is the better way, like the new SR 509 Expressway, the alternate route that'll help manage congestion on I-5 and other local roads. Plus, provide better access to SeaTac. Open soon. Free through summer. Learn more at goodtogo509.com.
Guys, it's Men's Health Month at Revive Seattle. Get a free comprehensive wellness panel. It checks your testosterone, blood sugar, heart health, and more. Valued at $400. Offer ends June 30th. Call 206-529-1111 or visit revivemenshealth.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Around 290 people are now believed to be dead after an Air India flight crashed shortly after takeoff. Crews rushed to put out flames at the crash site. Several people on the ground are believed to have been killed. The Boeing 787 appeared to stall shortly after takeoff, then crash. Aviation expert Scott Hamilton tells KIRO Newsradio video shows the plane's flaps were not extended for takeoff.
I would bet that in the end it's going to point toward human error, because certainly as the airplane started rolling down the runway, there should have been an audible warning in the cockpit.
The 11-year-old 787 was built at Boeing's Everett plant. In a statement, Boeing said their thoughts are with the passengers, crew, and all affected. One passenger reportedly survived that crash. The U.S. economy may not be facing as big of a threat from tariffs. That's according to a new report from Goldman Sachs. CBS business reporter Jason Brooks has more.
The New York-based investment bank is dialing back its recession forecast for the U.S. from 35 to 30% over the next 12 months, with Goldman Sachs saying in the analyst note that inflation readings are showing a slightly lesser impact on consumer prices and, as a result, on real income and consumer spending. Goldman Sachs also says that broader financial aspects have also eased back to roughly pre-tariff levels and that trade policy uncertainties have moderated in light of steps toward de-escalation.
It will not be easy to get around the east side this weekend. All northbound lanes of 405 will be closed between Renton and Victoria for construction.
We know that there's going to be a lot of grads and dads trying to get around to different functions this weekend. So I just really want to get the word out that if you're going to be headed northbound on 405, do plan some extra time.
Craig Smiley is with the State Department of Transportation, and he says the primary detour route is Coal Creek Parkway. It cannot handle the thousands of cars that would normally take 405. You are asked to check for alternate routes. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we are starting to look a lot more green all over the map. We've cleared a few stalls and collisions over the last hour, but keep in mind there is road work on the right lane of northbound I-5 at the Duwamish River in Tukwila for barrier repairs. That will set you back maybe a minute, and you need to be a little bit alert. You've got the typical slowing in and out of Seattle on northbound and southbound I-5, but it's really just a blip on your radar at this point. 405 northbound is still recovering a little bit from the morning commute and from a stalled semi that is now off to the side. There's a little bit of slowing. The Renton to Bellevue Drive is sitting at 29 minutes. Tacoma to Seattle, 15 minutes. Everett to Seattle, 37 minutes. Bothell to Bellevue, 24 minutes. This report brought to you by Global Credit Union. Global Credit Union, where members enjoy no-fee accounts and early payday with direct deposit. Learn more at globalcu.org. Weather brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are going to have a peek at the sun later today, but it's very late. 68 degrees is our high. Overnight lows in the low 50s. 67 tomorrow and mostly cloudy. Mostly sunny by Saturday and 71 degrees. It's 55 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO Newsradio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. Angela Poe Russell is in. Coming up in about 15 minutes. Scenarios when we solve other people's problems. Right now, Roosevelt High School in Seattle has a big fat problem. We have the details of the punishment for alleged recruiting involving football players the last couple of seasons. So apparently a bunch of schools complained because I think suddenly Roosevelt High School was really good at football. Yeah, how did this happen?
Good all of a sudden.
Yeah, so the Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association did an investigation, and they found that Roosevelt and its coaching staff, which includes head coach, former Seahawk Sam Adams, violated 4 different rules regarding illegal recruiting, and they determined that the violations were the most egregious. So the punishment that the board levied is appropriate for the most egregious. So based on their findings, the board levied the maximum $2,500 fine for Coach Adams and the team's defensive coordinator. Both of them are going to be suspended for a year. The assistant coach and the school's principal were also fined $2,500. The Seattle Times reports the athletic director was also fined and placed on probation for 3 years. On top of that, and this is the thing that's going to really harm the student athletes, Roosevelt has to forfeit all games in which eligible players took part the last 2 years. So that would include their state semifinal appearance this last season. Mm-hmm. And the football team is also banned from any postseason competition for this season. The athletic department at that school will also be on probation for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So the Seattle Times reports a total of 18 students transferred to Roosevelt for the 2024-2025 school year with the intent to play for the football program. So the illegal recruiting was pretty severe, it sounds like.
Does it make you wonder when it's that okay, you ever heard people say, like, if you're going to cheat or be a criminal, like,
just do
be
it big.
Smarter about it, like like 18 in 1 year, like, you're asking for attention. So it begs the question, is it possible they weren't maybe, like, you may know it's a rule, but maybe there was a belief that the rule that
ignorance is not
I'm not
an
saying
excuse.
that's an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm saying I wonder if this employee, this coach, maybe thought, oh, yeah, this is happening all over because it is. Let's just face it, it is. So he just thought, okay, I know this is a rule, but here's what we do.
Let's see if we get caught.
Yeah, maybe it's not you know how you can have a rule in place, but if you haven't really seen it enforced and you know for a fact other schools are doing it, and you think, oh, it's because that's the only reason I could think why you would do that many. Otherwise, you would say, hey, that's going to look obvious. To me, to do 18 transfers, it doesn't seem like you were trying to hide it. That maybe there was a part of you that thought this is kind of what I see happening.
What everybody else does. Yeah. So unfortunately, every coach is given the handbook. It's very explicit in terms of what is considered illegal recruiting. Now,
like we read every contract.
There could be an argument made. There could be an argument made that, yeah, why is Roosevelt having to compete with private schools that have an easier time getting away with it? Now, I will say not every private school does it.
Yeah.
There are some private schools that clearly do it on a regular basis. And if you look at most programs that have highly successful football, let's just say in particular, but we were talking about football, basketball, those are the sports, and Gee would tell you that there's a number of reasons why those are the sports that are especially highlighted, but those are the biggest money-generating sports too, and also the biggest when it comes to students wanting to be on those winning teams so that they could potentially get some kind of scholarship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big pressure as well.
I can tell you this, Bellevue High School,
hello.
Isn't it interesting that they're dominant kind of in so many things? How is it they're able to be dominant in so many things? Like, I have lots of, so here's my question. Is it only happening at Roosevelt?
No. No. But Roosevelt happens to be the one where the complaints were made and they did an investigation and found, sure enough, 18 students transferred to that program. And what's going to happen now is that I think these penalties are going to impact that program for way more than the years that they're on. I mean, it's and I say that as a parent of football players who were in a program where we ended up losing our coach.
Yeah,
at
wow.
Blanchette High School.
Wow.
And it was because the principal at the time was the one who actually turned in the school and basically said, I think recruiting is happening here. And then they did it, and basically it ended up just derailing the whole thing.
Wow. You know, there's another aspect I didn't think about this, and it came from a King 5 report. It said a parent with a child at Roosevelt High School told King 5 it's sad because there were local kids in the district that weren't able to play football, and now our team's not going to be able to play for a long time.
Yes.
You
punished everybody. Yeah, you've especially those local kids who
didn't make the team because you brought in these other people
because of exactly.
Yeah.
Or just didn't get any playing time, and now all of that was for naught because those wins that were so all important, and they don't count now.
Yeah.
They don't count.
And then what's interesting is this report from King 5, it said it went beyond just the recruiting. It said they identified 12 students, and it said they were given special privileges and promised things that other students don't have to. So it was like not only recruiting you there, but recruiting you with not just the opportunity to play. So here's the thing I'm confused about. So are they banned? Like, what is the actual consequence? Are they banned from playing for a while or just being able to go to?
Well, basically, so a couple of things. So yeah, even if Roosevelt for this year makes the postseason, so makes the playoffs, they can't play.
Okay.
So it's basically a season that is going to end at the end of the season, and even if they did really well, they cannot play in the playoffs.
Got it.
So
but that's for 1 year.
So that is going to be for this season, yes.
Okay. So,
but the department's going to be on probation for 3 years, and then all the games in which eligible players took part in the last 2 years, those games are forfeited. So their records, their winning record, their semifinal appearance does not count. So it's like a black, it's basically they're tarnished. Their reputation is tarnished.
Yeah.
So anything they accomplished is tarnished. And someone was asking, is this a former Seahawk? Yeah, it's Sam Adams, former Seahawk player, who I would say, again, should know better.
And apparently, according to this King 5 report, the school did the investigation first and found no violation.
Okay, yeah, that was the other thing.
That was funny. I'm like, come on, guys.
But they clearly weren't looking enough, which is why now it's funny that the WIAA says, well, wait a minute, the principal, you're also being fined.
Yes.
It's like they were all in on it.
Come on. And I would just encourage the WIAA to look under the hood at some other places.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll probably find more.
Well, and I know that a lot of people, especially people who are really into sports, would say we just need to figure out a better way to level out the playing field. I mean, there's always going to be that kind of cheating, that kind of recruiting, and it's easier for the private schools to get away with it than the public schools, et cetera. But there are public schools
the public schools are doing really well.
Yeah,
like in
Bellevue being one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Although someone pointed out that once they got rid of the coach, said Max in the 425 says when the Bellevue coach was fired for recruiting, Bellevue dropped way down. I can't say.
They're back killing it. I want to say they were in the finals with Roosevelt. I think they were in the finals with Roosevelt. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. 888-973-5476. But I want to say they were in that final with Roosevelt and Bellevue won, I think. So.
Okay, still ahead.
Yep, they did.
Still ahead. We're going to do scenarios. Gee and Ursula Show.
As the nation's biggest news story makes its way to right here at home.
Anti-ICE protesters turned violent in downtown Seattle.
Trust KIRO News Radio.
Team coverage begins with KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgartner.
Watching people graffiti the side of the federal building.
It's why local news and experience matter.
Now to my colleague James Lynch.
I've never seen that large of a contingent of Seattle police officers, an extreme show of force.
KIRO News Radio. Local news coverage you can depend on.
If you're thinking about renovating an attic, spending more time in your sunroom, or building onto your home, a Carrier ductless unit is the perfect solution for climate control. It's efficient, quiet, and incredibly flexible when it comes to installation because there's no ductwork required. It's just one more way we're making your home totally comfortable.
Your local Carrier heating and cooling dealer will improve your home's comfort, air quality, and efficiency. Visit CarrierNorthwest.com to find the expert near you. Carrier, turn to the experts.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, it's John Curley. You know, I've been a patient of Longevity Medical Clinic since 2009, and Longevity Medical Clinic has been helping people live longer, healthier lives for more than 25 years. You know what's amazing, Doctor? The feelings that you have after just a couple of months. You sleep better. Your strength and vitality, it is evident that it works. It's really a mindset, though, Dr. Mixon, because a lot of people, well, this is what's supposed to happen.
Let us help you be stronger, faster, leaner, smarter, sexier, but most important, happier. I'm less impressed by how many years I might live, but how much I live during my years. You know, the option is here. Nobody's going to make you go to Longevity. But the opportunity is there, and all you have to do is take advantage of it. I don't know why anybody would not want to do what we do.
And that's where Longevity Medical Clinic comes in. So get your free health analysis. Go to LongevityMedicalClinic.com. That's LongevityMedicalClinic.com.
At the Harnish Auto family, people matter isn't just a saying. It's how they do business. For over 40 years, their dealerships, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Volkswagen, Subaru of Puyallup, plus Chevrolet and Kia of Everett, have built a stellar reputation on trust, respect, and great deals. From supporting local charities to making sure every customer drives away happy, they're here for you. Stop by any of their dealerships or visit HarnishAutoFamily.com and find your next car today. Harnish Auto Family,
People matter.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Available in select states. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show, and it's time for scenarios.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
My father passed away a month ago, and as the executor of his will, I'm sorting through his finances. He was very reserved and a quiet man, so I was shocked to find a recurring massive monthly payment to an account on a subscription-based explicit content site. We're talking thousands of dollars a month, which has significantly drained the inheritance money meant for my brother and me. Against my better judgment, I looked up the creator's profile to see where all this money was going. I almost had a heart attack. The creator is my brother's wife, my sister-in-law. My brother has no idea about her secret online career, and she almost certainly has no idea her biggest fan was her own father-in-law. I'm sitting on a secret that feels radioactive. Do I tell my brother his wife has this secret career and she's the reason his inheritance is smaller? Do I tell her, or do I bury this horrifying secret and let everyone believe my dad was just bad with money?
Go ahead, Angela.
Tell it.
I hear a bus backing up.
Tell it. Listen, you're talking to the woman whose brother used to always sing the song to me when I was a kid. You talk too much. So I'm most
you spill
of the
it?
time. Oh God, I would tell this is your brother. You got to let your brother. And it's not about exposing your dad as much as it's about he should know what his wife's doing. If his wife is creating explicit content, this is your family member. He should know.
I agree with you, Angela. And it's just bringing to there are things that you find out about loved ones after they pass that aren't great.
Okay.
I just put, and some of them are, and sometimes you can also be released from these secrets or these things. I think there's a big relief in that too. Mm-hmm. I would rather know the truth than have to carry that. First of all, have to carry that burden. Also, just be untruthful. And I think if he were to find out later that I knew and I didn't share that information, I think the consequences would be worse than sharing it and just dealing with it.
Now, I'd probably give it some time after the funeral.
Yes.
Like, I think it'd be.
He's like, "Where's my check, bro?"
Yes.
Like, I mean, just because you're dealing with the emotion from just having the loss, and so things are already tense in a family when someone has died. So I'd give it a few weeks, kind of let the emotions settle. Brother, let's talk.
I think this guy's misreading the situation.
Does brother know about it, you think?
how does he know that his brother is unaware of what his wife is doing?
That's what a lot of people
How
on the
does he
text line are
know
asking.
that his sister-in-law wasn't aware her father-in-law was sending her thousands of dollars of perv payments every month, right? You should not be explaining to your brother why his inheritance is so small. You should be asking him why the heck yours is so small and why they've been complicit in basically robbing from your own birthright. I mean, there's no way that. How can you possibly hide thousands of dollars in revenue from one client on an explicit site like that from your partner? I just don't believe that the brother doesn't know. I think this guy is just the last one to figure things out.
Oh, no.
Oh, how sad is that?
Okay.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to tell him, right? Like, if you're the brother and you find out dad is paying, and you're like, well, I'm not going to say anything to bro about this, but I guess I'll collect the checks.
Yeah, Omari in Federal Way says, G would say, mind your own business.
Yeah, he would.
G would say
Like,
that.
my name's been it, and I'm not in it.
Nick, what do you think?
Well, I'm letting the brother know sooner rather than later to tell him the truth, because if you keep it a secret any longer, I think the reaction is going to be even bigger when the tea is spilled. But at this point, I think his head's already going to pop off knowing this. There are some secrets I think some couples can keep from each other, but this one is, I think, off the charts. And it's better to tell him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think when it comes to scenarios, that was one of the stranger ones.
That was. It's interesting. Imani had a really interesting perspective saying keep the deceased good name after death in remembrance.
I don't believe in that.
Really?
I mean, it depends on what it is.
I'd rather know the truth.
But you wouldn't want to protect your loved ones if you were to find out something like protect their reputation or how people viewed them. If there was something. I love the look on your face right now.
I'm just going to say right now that because there's just things that I cannot say on the air, but I would just say that there are things that we find out after someone passes. We find out the truth, some long-held secret that comes out, and unfortunately, you cannot confront the person who has passed, but you can deal with it within yourself, within your family, after the fact.
I mean, think about it this way. How many historical figures are there who are so popular, so lauded, and it turns out after their death, we find out like they're a horrible abuser, right? Or they've been, wildly cheating on their spouse for decades. Like all these kind of things. I think it's good to clear the air because it clears up the myth of a lot of who people are. And there's people who should know maybe, and then there's people who shouldn't know.
Yes, it's true.
You know what it made me think of?
Huh?
Celebrities. I think of Prince. Like when he died, you heard all these good stories about him. Like,
yeah.
And I know I'm getting off topic, but I am a huge Prince fan.
Me too.
And it was always interesting to me that he was the one that was a bit more risque in terms of his music. But in terms of the life he lived, like you didn't have some of the controversies that follow the others who tried to put up a front of, look at me, I'm all clean as a whistle. And all. And
isn't that the truth?
Kind of a life lesson.
Wouldn't you rather know the truth?
I mean, and also we didn't hear about how he died until a year later? He died of fentanyl. And we didn't hear about that for a long time, didn't we?
No, it wasn't fentanyl. It was something else, though. It was a back medication he was on that he OD'd on. But it wasn't. I don't think it was fentanyl.
I gotta fact check now.
How he died, yes, crack. I think it was it some kind of opioid?
It was an accidental overdose of fentanyl.
Oh, it was fentanyl. I didn't realize it was fentanyl.
And like, what a missed opportunity to have an education campaign. If people knew at the outset, like even famous people, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It is 10:55. We are going to wrap up for this hour. Coming up next, we do Agree to Disagree, and we are going to ask the question about, is it time to ban all phone calls on airplanes? That's one of the things we'll discuss coming up next. This is the Gee and Ursula Show.
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round, round, round.
KIRO News Radio is right there with you.
A big story developing this morning.
On your smart speaker before you head out the door.
Get the latest live from KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey.
Huge impacts for Boeing and Boeing workers.
The office, the gym, anywhere.
Water, like taxes, goes all the way down to the bottom, so it'll either come out of the employee's paycheck or the lack of raise.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
A word from Progressive Insurance. Life can be hard, so Progressive makes bundling your home and auto easy. Hope that helps. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777 or biglou.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. The nicotine in e-cigarettes is addictive and can harm brain development. That's why I worry about teens who try e-cigarettes. Many young people use pod-based e-cigarettes like Juul, which have high levels of nicotine. And because teens' brains are still developing, they can quickly become addicted. The tobacco industry uses fruit and candy flavors to attract young people, often turning them into lifelong users. For more, visit healthychildren.org.
Choke Points with Chris Sullivan.
What burning questions do you have? You can help drive the conversation by going to mynorthwest.com or text Choke Points to 888-973-5476.
Tuesdays and Thursdays on Seattle's Morning News.
Every summer, we drive to Lake Chelan in our Subaru Outback. That car has been great for our family adventures. We bought it at Carter Subaru, and they have what you've been searching for with over 300 new vehicles in stock, including the 2025 Forester, now with 3.9% financing for 48 months, or go electric with the 2025 Solterra EV, 0% APR for 72 months.
On approved credit, subject to vehicle insurance and availability. A documentary service fee may be added to the sale price or capitalized cost. See dealer for details. Valid through 6/30/25.
The Mariners are transforming T-Mobile Park into Seattle's hottest karaoke club for Sing-Along Fireworks Night. Don't miss an incredible post-game show this Friday presented by T-Mobile after the team squares off against the Guardians at 7:10.
He does it again. Home runs in 3 consecutive games. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper.
It's your chance to belt your heart out on the big stage to chart-topping hits and feel-good throwbacks. Fireworks and Mariners baseball. That's 2 spectacular shows in one unforgettable night.
Strike 3 call. Triple digits to end it and complete the sweep.
Visit mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets and see the complete lineup of Mariners fireworks nights this summer, including a patriotic palooza on July 3rd and an 80s show on July 18th. Plus, check out everything else on deck at T-Mobile Park, including a Father's Day socks giveaway this Sunday thanks to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Mariners baseball. Trident's up.
We live in one of the most beautiful places on earth, and owning your own deck is a great way to enjoy it. But finding the right decking solution can be overwhelming. That's why all 9 of our Puget Sound locations offer decking showrooms so you can get your hands and toes on the more than 60 decking options we carry. So if you have any questions about building, maintaining, or repairing your deck, contact me personally, Mike Dunn at DunnLumber.com.
TimberTech Vintage Collection Decking. On sale now at Dunn Lumber.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. A 6th round of U.S.-Iran nuclear talks is set for this coming Sunday, even as the region braces for possible military action.
I'd prefer the more friendly path.
President Trump says an Israeli attack on Iran is not imminent, but could very well happen. CBS's Jennifer Jacobs on what sources are saying.
If there's no deal in the talks this weekend, President Trump could just walk away, and then he could argue the U.S. had nothing to do with any sort of a strike. It was an Israel thing. The U.S. isn't getting involved in any new wars. But if those nuclear sites are destroyed, then it would be a win for President Trump.
In the wake of the deadly plane crash in India today, Trump is offering assistance, as Linda Kenyon reports.
President Trump says he spoke with India's president.
I let them know that anything we can do, we'll be over there immediately.
The president also said while the cause of the crash is under investigation.
Nobody has any idea what it might be. I gave him a couple of pointers. I said, maybe you'll look at this or that. You know, we saw the plane. It looked like it was flying pretty well. It didn't look like there was an explosion.
The Air India passenger plane was bound for London with more than 240 people on board when it crashed moments after takeoff. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Protests are planned across the nation this weekend. Chris Fox reports from Austin, Texas.
Austin Mayor Kirk Watson, a Democrat, pushing back against Republican Governor Greg Abbott over his deployment of the National Guard troops for Saturday's No Kings protest.
I want you to know that that was not my decision or anyone's at the city, nor do we think it's necessary.
Watson calls the deployment an attempt to create fear and chaos.
I don't believe that we should militarize the streets of the capital city of the state of Texas.
Governor Abbott says the Guard will be there to ensure peace and order.
First of all, we want to make sure that what has happened in California does not happen in Texas.
Chris Fox for CBS News, Austin.
Republicans in Congress called several Democratic governors to testify today about their policies limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities in what are known as sanctuary jurisdictions. CBS's Nicole Killian is covering.
Republicans remain very critical of these governors, kind of using this opportunity to rake them over the coals, accusing them of shielding and harboring undocumented immigrants who are here in this country illegally. Although the governors continue to insist that they will uphold the law.
The Trump administration is suing New York over a law that blocks immigration officials from arresting people at courthouses. The Justice Department alleged today that policy shields dangerous criminals. On Wall Street, the Dow is currently up 75 points. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Cleaning up after two major Washington cities have anti-ice protests. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we are very close to a speed limit drive in most places. There's some typical traffic in and out of downtown Seattle on I-5, Federal Way to Seattle 38 minutes, Linwood to Seattle 29 minutes. 405 northbound is running about 2 minutes behind because of an earlier stall in Renton near the 167 merge. Renton to Bellevue is 29 minutes. Brought to you by the Harnish Auto family. Over 40 years, the Harnish Auto family has built a stellar reputation on trust, respect, and great deals. Find your next car at harnishautofamily.com. Harnish Auto Family, people matter.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Jillian Raftery. A dumpster fire, rocks and fireworks thrown at officers, graffiti on the federal building in downtown Seattle, and arrests. It all started with a peaceful rally at Cal Anderson Park.
So we're here to say ICE out of Seattle, ICE out of everywhere, stop the raids and stop the deportations.
And it ended with protesters clashing with police downtown.
I got hit while I was walking down.
With a rubber bullet?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just kind of startled me a little bit.
8 people were arrested. More than 30 people were arrested in Spokane after the city's former city council president, Ben Stuckert, rallied a crowd to block detainee transports. Police broke up that crowd and another one that merged with it with smoke grenades and pepper balls. Another anti-ICE rally is planned in Seattle for Saturday afternoon at Cal Anderson Park. A new push is underway to make people prove their citizenship when registering to vote. Backers are gathering signatures. They tell the Center Square it's about election integrity. Critics say it's voter suppression. A woman is fighting for her life after a shooting in Pioneer Square. Seattle police say it happened just after 5 o'clock yesterday evening near 3rd and James. Officers found a woman shot in the head and a man shot in the foot. The suspect has been arrested, but detectives are still trying to piece together what happened. The Bellevue Fire Department is ready for summer with new watercraft. Here's KIRO News Radio's Scott Carty.
Off the shores of Bellevue this summer, you won't get help from Baywatch, but you can get help from Operation Water Rescue 425. Bellevue Fire has acquired 2 jet skis equipped with flotation platforms built for speed and maneuverability thanks to help from nearly 200 donors. Interim Fire Chief Dave Tate reminds us cold water temps can cause hypothermia in minutes. Operation Water Rescue 425 is already on Lake Washington, launching next Monday on Lake Sammamish. Scott Carty, KIRO News Radio.
This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Warming to 68 today, dropping some of those clouds late in the day. Tomorrow, high of 67 and mostly cloudy. Still no rain in the forecast. It is 58 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. Angela Poe Russell is in. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning, Ursula.
Hey, coming up at 11:30, I look forward to this because in between all the things that you do, including joining us here on the Gee and Ursula Show, you've got a huge project. And there's a bit of a milestone coming up.
It's a huge milestone.
Yes.
I'm still in shock. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. I also want to share with everybody, I did see a show in downtown Seattle. So we're going to talk about shows. But there's one that you are intimately involved with. I'm impressed. I'm going to fangirl over you about this. So we're going to talk about that coming up at 11:30. As always, we invite you to join us on our text line, 888-973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. Y'all have been great on the text line today, getting lots of great discussions. So really appreciate it. And right now, though, we're going to do our Agree to Disagree segment, which is brought to you by Guardian Roofing and Gutters.
One of these days, we just got to take off the gloves and just really go at it.
You guys want to chill out? We've been going pretty hard all day.
Yes.
Okay,
all right, let's do it. Okay, so in-flight Wi-Fi, while expensive, is becoming more and more available, which raises a question about how that internet access should be used. Here in the U.S., we do not allow voice calls from your phone on airplanes. The prohibition is federal law backed by the FAA and FCC. So you can use your phone for texting and Wi-Fi, but you will get a sharp slap on the wrist from the flight crew if you try to make a call. But in the European Union, they do allow phone calls. So airlines are allowed to have passengers make calls, but they can also make a policy to disallow them. So depending on the airline, you could make a call. Ursula, do you think we should allow carriers in the U.S. to decide whether to allow passengers to make calls?
I think that we should give them that decision, but I also think that those airlines would have to pay the consequences because I know for a fact, unless it is an emergency call, the last thing I want during a flight is to hear someone's long conversation. Now, I know that there are times when you want to be able to receive calls or there are times when you have to make a call. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I will share that when our colleague and friend, Dory Monson, died, I was on a plane traveling back from the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And I was only able to get one text message from one friend that came through in the middle of somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. And I know that I would have wanted to talk to somebody and make a phone call about that. But it's rare that you really have to have a phone call in the middle of a flight.
Yeah.
And I think that would just be too much.
Yep. I say ban it. Nope, we don't. I don't want us to be able to do that. I feel like we've lost so much decorum over the years.
On airplanes?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it used to be this like special thing and you would dress up. And don't get me wrong, I like the way it is now. But let's keep let's make some spaces sacred. I could see having a rule that you are allowed to make a phone call only in an emergency. And that's it. But we're in close proximity to each other. And based on that close proximity and our inability to move, the fact that you can't change seats, I can't move to the back, I think that's why you have to have, to me, that rule in place.
Okay, I think we should definitely allow it but only in the first class cabin.
Oh, God.
Because I know that all of those self-important people are itching to be on their phone calls. They got to talk to the board, right? There's important clients to follow up with. They
You're
need to
being
berate
facetious.
they need to berate their assistants. So as long as they have the luxury of traveling up in first class, they need to take care of business.
Yeah, so you're saying that because you know that that's never going to end up bothering you because you never fly first class.
Yes.
And if Gee were here, he would be like, oh, heck no.
Who knows if he would? I mean, he might actually like the ability to make a phone call. I'm sure that they could accommodate like a little phone booth, first class phone booth up in the fancy side of the plane where you could step into.
Now, I could see that idea if there were, that's a good idea, having a plane phone booth.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, but yeah, could you have one person that goes to use it? And so maybe you limit it to like 10 minutes. Like you get 10 minutes in there. If you need to go, I can see a little phone booth. I've seen them at offices where you can, because now there's like the whole open office concept, which I hate.
A phone booth on a flight?
I'm sure that there would be airlines who would choose to do it.
I like it.
There are some passengers who would be like, oh, absolutely. I can't be on an international flight and out of contact for 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
I would assume it would be more like the
text us,
Dubai Airlines.
973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. I'm actually curious, though. Just you were talking about the lack of decorum on flights. What is the one thing you would change if you could? If you could have a magic wand and say, we need to bring this back, what would it be?
Ooh, in anything?
Yeah, when it comes to flights.
Oh, when it comes to flights.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Gosh, you're putting me on the spot, Ursula.
Okay,
I'm like, what is my thing?
The drink cart coming around more than once.
Oh, my gosh.
An hour
that
into the
part.
flight.
Yeah, that part. Wait, this is unpopular opinion, but I don't think you should have to ask someone if you want to lean your chair back.
I like that. You should, if you can lean it, lean it.
Lean it. No, you don't like kick it and things like that. But I'm trying to think of all the things we used to have. Oh, I know what I'd bring back. They used to give you like, I feel like when I was coming up, there were quality things that you would get other than peanuts. And I feel like that's been kind of dialed back on some places.
Have you noticed that even the pretzel bags are getting small? Like I think I counted like nine pieces.
Yeah.
It's so bad. What would you bring back? Would you bring?
I would bring back slightly larger seats. This last flight, poor Mark was stuck. They had the Miami rugby team on our flight. And sure enough, he had a middle, so he had an aisle seat, and coming down the aisle, we see it's like there's the middle seat was open next to Mark. And sure enough, the biggest guy on the team. So it was like three dudes on the same row. Because I also had I had the aisle seat as well, just across the aisle. I had to take a picture because it was hysterical. Of course, I was the only one laughing, but
he was squished. He was kind of,
you're stuck for 6 hours and you cannot fit on these seats.
No, if we could all just be like G and fly first class, man.
Yeah, sure.
Bring back smoking on planes. I really miss that. That was.
Get out.
Can you imagine? I cannot fathom that existed because I don't think I ever flew on one, or if I did, I was an infant. But what a crazy idea. I want to bring up something else though, because the idea of being able to make a phone call on an airplane. An airplane used to be a place where you could go where everyone knew you cannot be contacted. And it seems like more and more there are no places where you cannot be contacted. And probably within the next decade, there will not be a single place on planet Earth, unless you are under the ocean, where a Starlink signal will not be able to reach you. Do you think we lose anything with that, Angela?
I do. I feel it used to be like, oh, I'm going to be on a flight, so I won't be available. And now it's like, oh, no, you can work on your flight. $8. Here, get your work done. So now there's this pressure when I'm on a plane to work. It used to be, it's like, oh, that's my time to read a book or watch a movie. And now there is a pressure to work, especially for me. I do the kind of work where I'm writing or researching. And so, yeah. That's the thing I think we've lost, that sacred space where it's like, oh, I really can check out.
Conversely, though, there are times like when I'm driving, for example, to Lake Chelan, and there are stretches where I have zero service. I feel a certain level of anxiety.
Really?
Oh, I'm not surprised. My kids get really mad when they can't, access whatever show or listen to Spotify because, oh, sorry, there's no internet. And they're like, what does that mean? Yeah. There's no internet.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah. By the way, fun fact I have to tell you, if you do have to do some kind of work on an airplane, do you know, or you may consider doing work on an airplane, because there's actually something that happens with your brain and air pressure that it makes you more creative.
Oh,
really?
I used to think it was because I was ultra focused because I couldn't do anything else, because you're sitting in the space. You can't go, you're not distracted by home. But there is some evidence to support that when you're in the air, there's this stuff happening. And I've written the most amazing songs on airplanes.
Wow, which we're going to talk about coming up here at 11:30.
Does that still work if you have 2 double gin and tonics? Probably not.
They say, write when you're drunk and edit when you're sober.
Hey, I've never heard that. I like it. All right, we got to move on to school topics. We're looking at the end of the school year pretty soon. And the Wall Street Journal reports that some schools are ditching valedictorians or even allowing for multiple. There's one high school in Virginia where 1 in 3 graduates are being named valedictorian. How does that happen? Well, the way they do it is anyone with a 4.0 or higher can be called a valedictorian. And with the AP classes and honors, IB, etc., students can get more than a 4.0, which means that a full third of the school's class is going to be a valedictorian. At the same time, there are schools who are getting rid of it entirely because they believe that it is unfair. It, elevates one student above the rest of the student body. What do you think about multiple valedictorians? That one example is probably a little much. But Angela, what do you think about multiple or single?
You had no idea this is an issue in our house.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it is.
Seriously, I have no idea.
It is.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so hope the school's not listening. Okay, so my daughter is one of those kids. So at her school, they do have multiple valedictorians.
Mm-hmm.
And because there were multiple people with 4.0s or higher. But a lot of it is determined by the highest GPA, and AP class gives you a higher GPA.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter is in this situation where if she wanted to game the system, she could take 5 APs next year and just seal her valedictorian fate.
Yeah.
But I told her, no, I want you to follow what you're passionate about. And so she's only going to take 4. And because of that, she may be salutatorian or not either of them. We don't know.
So this is a school that does one.
No, they do several.
Okay.
But you have to be in the, they're going to, whoever's the top, and you could have, let's say if you took 5 APs every year, then you might have a full, whatever that is.
4.9 or something.
Okay. Yeah. But because if she were to take another AP, we could totally game that system.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the lesson we want to teach kids? And she's like, you know what? I really want to be a BSU officer and work with the Multicultural Student Union. And that's a class. So you know what? Do that. She'll take 4 APs. It may knock her out of that thing.
Imagine
so I guess
taking 4 APs and that knocks you out of contention
that
for
could
the
happen.
valedictorian.
We have had some kids
that
do
is nuts,
5.
which makes me question.
Is this the best system?
Well, is this the best system? And is there an issue with grade inflation? I mean, that would be the other thing. Like, does everything deserve a 4.0?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? And I say that as coming from a private school as well with the kids. And my son got knocked out literally because he had a concussion, and he ended up getting a B+ on one of his AP classes instead of an A, and that took him out of contention.
Wow.
There have been classes where, I know, right? There have been classes where there's 40 valedictorians.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was, I want to say it was like either Garfield or one. I mean,
really?
where there have been.
Well, let's just talk about this for a minute, okay? So now you're getting
Angela's
me started.
all up in
now
heat.
You're getting me started. So let's get to the issue of if you have that many people getting A's, you have to ask yourself why.
Yes.
And I want you to tell me, all of you sitting listening to this show, how many of your schools are allowing test retakes? If you're allowing a test retake, then of course more people are going to get A's because I got a second swipe at it.
Exactly.
I will tell you this.
That's what I'm talking about with the
What's
grade
the point?
inflation.
Learning the
point?
material or getting the grade?
And that's the argument. So so just so you know, I had 2 kids. One of them, they did do retakes. The one that my daughter's at now, they do not do retakes. They do not. On one hand, yes, learning the material is important. But also, I think it's valuable to have to learn that you get one chance and you have to step up in those moments and you have to rise to the occasion. And I think we have gone too far in allowing 2, 3 chances. it's not a great lesson for life.
But what is driving this? What is driving this is this obsession that you and I have talked about both on and off the air, and it is an obsession with trying to get into the most elite schools and thinking that you are not going to have a shot at those quote-unquote elite schools if you don't have this perfect GPA and this perfectly curated resume.
Right. And here's the thing. That's why some of these schools are having to go back to SAT and ACT, because they said so many kids were coming in with these great grades, but yet they needed remedial math. It was like, how do you come in with a 4.0?
Yes.
And you need remedial, was it remedial reading or math? Where I think it was math. They were needing remedial math at one of these elite schools.
Yes.
So now the SAT is becoming this measure of what you know, because we don't know what a 4.0 means anymore. It depends on what school you're coming from.
What about the idea that, because some schools are not only doing this because it's unfair, because, hey, Joni, who is the valedictorian because Tina's mom died and, she had to take care of her younger brother and sister for her junior and senior years, even though Tina worked her butt off and just came like that. That's one argument.
You know what they do for those situations, though? They give them other awards. There are other awards.
Okay.
There's St. Ignatius Award, whatever it is. They find another way to reward that student given those circumstances. I mean,
the hardship.
Yeah.
The hardship gold star, I guess. But what about the competition aspect? Because some schools are dropping it because they say it is too stressful for the kids.
I don't believe
some
in that.
Schools
I don't believe in that. I also don't believe in getting rid of those APP programs. I don't believe in getting rid of those. I don't believe
Nobody makes that argument about AP, that it's too stressful. No. They say it's unfair.
They get rid of the gifted programs. I disagree with that.
I disagree with that. Oh, it's too hard. It's too competitive. So let's just get rid of the competition.
Yeah,
and let's just let everyone have a trophy.
That's not how life works. Yeah, that's not how life works.
Okay,
I disagree with that. So let's go back to,
should there be a valedictorian?
Yes.
Should there be a valedictorian?
Just better rules.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a valedictorians, and I don't mind having multiple if they achieved. Like, I don't want to splinter a group just because of a 0.001 difference between their 4.8 GPAs. What do you think?
I think that we spend entirely too much time worrying about equity for people who will be wildly successful no matter what they do. That's what I think. Like, if you are valedictorian or not, you've proved you're a hard worker. You're going to go to a fine school. It's not going to be the end of your life. And so, why do we need to spend so much time worrying about whether one outstanding student is being unfairly treated compared to another outstanding student?
Because that's life.
She had to get that dig in. That's life, Chef.
Okay,
life.
and I will just tell you that it was Garfield High School back in 2005 that had 44 valedictorians. That's a little excessive.
And I thought we were bad. We had 12.
And again, I would say maybe reconsider those rules.
Right.
I had never even heard of something over a 4.0 GPA until I started doing this job.
Yeah, it's
because we
AP
had honors classes when I was in high school. There's nothing over a 4.0.
Yes.
Yeah, but some of the colleges will just say, hey, we don't want to know the weighted. What is it unweighted?
Yeah.
And so you can have both your weighted and unweighted. Let us know what you think. Well,
Okay.
I love these discussions.
I know. You were in the thick of it, though.
Yeah.
That was many years ago for me. Okay, still ahead, we're going to talk about something that, Angela, you are intimately involved with, and there is something big happening.
Yes, it's a major milestone. They can come. Yes, they can come. Yep.
Okay, so we'll talk about that coming up next on the Gee and Ursula Show.
This hour is brought to you by DUI Heroes. You listen to Seattle's morning news every morning. What do Charlie and Manda listen to every afternoon?
I absolutely love listening to John Curley because he makes you think, which I love.
John has a real special talent in being able to talk about the topics we care about, but he's always trying to make it fun. You're going, oh, this guy actually gets it.
The John Curley Show, weekdays 3 to 7. Watch The John Curley Show live on YouTube or the KIRO Newsradio App.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic is your best plan for long-term well-being and personalized health care. Dr. Mixon, let me ask you a question. How long have some of your patients been working with you?
And we've got patients now that have been with us for over 20 years that are in their 90s who came to us in their 60s. The grandparents now in their 90s are living independently. They're not on walkers, they're not on canes, they're not headed for nursing homes.
I meet people and they ask about, wow, you're in great shape. You have 12% body fat and stuff. What's the secret? I said, it's not a secret. Longevity Medical Clinic has been there for 25 years. There is no secret to the fact that if you make those small changes, you avoid the big, bad, horrible stuff that most of us just think, well, this is what's supposed to happen to me.
And if you're heading downhill and you don't change your direction, you're going to continue going downhill. And what we do at Longevity is we redirect you and we take you back up the hill.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
Need a new roof, a deck, siding, windows? Get up to $3,000 off any new installation. Hi, it's Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. Home projects can add up fast, but we're here to help you save big. Book now and lock in up to $3,000 off in savings. That's $3,000 off any new installation. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com to schedule your free estimate today. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit muckleshootcasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfer is available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
Guys, want long-term health you can count on? It starts with knowing your numbers. This June, for Men's Health Month, Revive Seattle is offering a free comprehensive wellness panel. A $400 value, including testosterone, blood sugar, heart health, and more. Take control of your health today and stay strong for the long haul. Offer ends June 30th. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206 529-1111 or visit revivemenshealth.com today.
At Les Schwab, we've been changing the tire game for more than 70 years. Our Go the Extra Mile service means more hustle, less hassle. We design our own exclusive tires to give you more tires made for the road you drive, less compromise. All backed by America's best tire warranty included with every tire we sell. We're talking more unbeatable tire warranty, less charging you extra, like the other guys. It's why you get more from less. Book an appointment at leschwab.com.
Discover one of the new inventions in home comfort with mini split systems from Home Comfort Alliance. Call now for a free consultation and get 18 months same as cash financing. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Jillian Raftery. 241 people on board an Air India 787 bound for the UK are presumed dead after the plane crashed.
Former commercial airline pilot Scott Hamilton tells me from video of the plane, it appears the plane's flaps were in the wrong position, causing the plane to stall shortly after takeoff.
The crash is just hours old. The bodies are still being recovered. Let's give this a little time and see if this is a human error or whether this is an airplane issue.
In a statement, Boeing said their thoughts are with the passengers, crew, and all affected. The 11-year-old 787 was built at Boeing's Everett plant. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
One passenger reportedly survived that crash. Several medical students living in a building that was struck by the plane are believed to be dead. Republican lawmakers grilled 3 Democratic governors about their sanctuary policies at a tense hearing on Capitol Hill. Here's Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and New York Governor Kathy Hochul.
I never remember you calling for secure borders at all, Governor Hochul.
We certainly have.
That doesn't sound like him to my memory.
Many conversations I had with the White House. We asked for federal resources. I mean, you're putting a federal problem on our laps, and you know what? It gets old after a while. I wish you would just do your job.
If your party actually would do the job of securing the nation the way President Trump has now had to do twice, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
Washington is also a so-called sanctuary state, and Seattle is designated as a sanctuary city. And the federal government is preparing to deploy specialized ICE tactical teams here. These are not your average agents. They're trained for high-risk raids. According to NBC News, they use Bearcat armored vehicles and carry long guns. Supporters, including the president, say these teams are vital for national security and law enforcement. Mayor Bruce Harrell tells King 5 the city has not been officially notified and that the city will not cooperate with ICE. Let's get a check on your drive from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. We are looking very good for a midday drive. I-5 still dragging a little heading north into downtown Seattle. Federal Way to Seattle is 37 minutes. Nothing blocking, just a little heavier than usual. The only other snag is 405 northbound from Renton to Bellevue, but even that's dissipating. Let's get that travel time. That's 28 minutes. Lake bridges are looking good. Tacoma to Seattle, 46 minutes. Everett to Seattle, 44 minutes. Bothell to Bellevue, 23 minutes. This report brought to you by Harnish Auto Family. Over 40 years, the Harnish Auto Family has built a stellar reputation on trust, respect, and great deals. Find your next car at harnishautofamily.com. Harnish Auto Family, people matter. Weather brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Heating up to about 68 degrees, and some of those clouds are going to go away. We'll get a peek at the sun. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy again and 67 degrees. Overnight lows this week in the low 50s. It will be 75 degrees supposedly by Sunday. It's 55 degrees in downtown Seattle right now. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show. In case you've been trying to text us and you are dealing with issues, we are aware of the issues and we are not receiving text messages at the moment. And I feel a little bit lost.
I feel I was the feeling I was feeling was naked. I just feel like there's something that's part of my job that's missing. It's you.
Exactly.
It's you.
Exactly. So
we still see you on the YouTubes though.
Okay.
I need to go check.
Okay,
in
there you go. Okay, so if you're on YouTube, you can check us out and we can also check you out. But right now we've got some issues with our text line. Okay, but let's talk about something that is near and dear to your heart, because I am just so bummed that I am not able to attend tomorrow night. But tell us about this project that you've been working on and what's happening tomorrow night.
For the last 2.5 years, I've been working on a musical, and tomorrow is the first staged reading of it. And a staged reading is a typical part of a process for any musical. And when you attend as part of the audience, you're not going to have the set and the costumes and the choreography, but you will get to hear the whole story and all of the music. And to me, the magical part about it is then the audience gets to provide feedback.
Oh, my gosh.
Because the goal is for the writers, for the writing team, me, the composer, the director, to actually hear it on its feet and then hear how audiences are reacting to it. And then we rewrite it and then we stage it for next year.
And it's going to debut next year.
May of next year.
Okay, so the name of your musical.
It's called Aviatrix.
Okay, and it's about?
Yeah, and it basically takes us to based on a true story. It takes us back to 1917. There was a new invention. That invention was the airplane. And this woman wanted to fly them, but flight schools didn't accept women.
Oh, wow.
Generally, they did not. In fact, the Wright brothers, Orville Wright, said that women weren't mechanically inclined.
Oh, Orville!
I know, right? So it follows the story of this one woman who refused to take no for an answer and managed to find a way and
her name?
make history. Elizabeth Bessie Coleman, and they would call her the Aviatrix in newspaper articles. And so it's just really this inspiring story. She's been inspiring to me, and we will present at this reading the full story with the music, and I'll be there, and it's only $10. You can come for $10.
Did you have any? I'm just mind boggled because, first of all, I love musicals, and I'll explain a musical that I just watched recently. But is this the first time that you've actually written a musical? I mean, so you just jumped in and said, "I'm just going to go ahead and write and produce this."
Believe it or not, I did write one about 10 years ago. But I never did anything with it. It wasn't ready, and so I probably will return to. You hear that a lot. If you follow the stories of screenwriters,
yes,
they'll have some hit, and then they'll be like, "I had this thing that I wrote a long time ago." But I've been.
So how long does it take to? So for Aviatrix, how long did it take for you to write that?
I'm on draft 10. And it's been 2.5 years.
Oh my gosh!
And then
how much time? I mean, so you're talking about airplane rides and all that. How much time are you spending on a daily basis?
A lot. I mean, I traveled to her hometown where she grew up.
Because you had to do a lot of research.
I had to do a lot of research. So we traveled to Atlanta, Texas, where she was born. This tiny town, and they have a little museum there for her. With all of some of her memorabilia and all. And what's crazy is she was before Amelia Earhart, but you often hear these names. And so I love highlighting these overlooked stories. I'm like, hey, y'all, you should pay attention to this woman because she was pretty incredible.
Okay, so why a musical, though?
Well, you have to understand that when I was graduating from high school, I had two choices. I got into 2 music schools, and I got into later journalism school, and I had to choose. And at the time, I was like, I don't know what kind of career I would have in music. How am I going to make money? I was very practical.
Yes.
And
so is your instrument your voice?
Or it's voice and piano, but
okay.
I'm not very good at piano. I can do basics on piano.
Okay.
So yeah, I ended up rejected the music school offer, went to journalism school, did my thing. And then I realized that this whole storytelling thing, no matter what medium you're in, everything is still a story. And then I was like, wait a minute. I love music. I love stories. It's a musical.
I mean, and you make it sound easy in a way, but you have to have people kind of buy into your project, right? I mean,
yes.
it's like so many people have ideas, but how do you go from making it an idea to, it's going to debut next year and this Friday and tell us the details about what's going to happen tomorrow night?
Okay. So long story short, it was so random how this opportunity came. I was at coffee and I shared with someone this idea I had, and it was the director of this theater. And she's like, oh my God, let's do it. So then we do a search. We find a composer. This composer is based out of New York, and she is a Drama Desk nominee, which is a pretty big deal, by the way. I found out later. I'm like, it's a drama, because they consider in that award, they consider Broadway shows, off-Broadway, and other. So you're competing against this big thing. So yeah, and she was really passionate about the project and jumped on board, and we're just, So tomorrow night, Seattle Public Theater, 7:00. Tickets it's a reading, so it's very affordable, $10, and you can listen to it get feedback and give feedback, and we'll take it. Our rule is we don't we just listen to you when you give
And how
feedback.
do you feel about getting to this point for tomorrow night?
It feels surreal when you've been working on something for so long. It feels surreal. And then honestly, when you've been working on something for so long, it's time to have someone else give you the critique. You can't step back and look at it at this point.
And feel like they're insulting your baby if they give you negative feedback. Like,
over time as writers, and any one of you listening, that if you write it all, you just have to, it's just part of the process.
And
So
no one's mainer to yourself
than yourself,
right? When it comes to your own work.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. There are a couple very successful books that have come out recently. The Alice Network and the Paris Library that feature some of the first female, what would you call them, aviatrices?
Pilots, but certain ones they definitely call aviatrix. Yeah.
And I've read both of them. They're both really good. But my understanding from just doing some research is she was way ahead of.
Oh God. Yes.
Way ahead.
Yeah, she was.
And there's no fictional account. This has not been told except in sort of non-fictional.
I love it. Angela.
That is really, really cool.
Maybe one day it'll be at the Paramount because you went to the Paramount. And
I did go to the Paramount this week, watched Mamma Mia, which I loved so much. And we have a gem in the Paramount Theater.
We do.
So, if you have a chance, it's Mamma Mia, one of my favorite musicals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was just, it made me forget about everything going on in the world. And I love that you are able to share one of your passions, and it's all coming to fruition.
Thank you
so
for
I
giving
hope
me.
that I hope that people get a chance to see the Aviatrix.
Yes, come see the Aviatrix.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you, Angela. Mm-hmm. Okay, we hear you, and Words to Live By coming up next.
Jake and Spike.
How you doing today?
I'm fabulous.
You're looking a little, are you a little glum?
No.
Oh, you're fabulous.
I'm fabulous. I'm faking it till I make it.
Good for you.
I'm a transmission fluid half full kind of guy.
Oh, that's nice.
How's that?
You need that today.
I do need that today.
You're having some car troubles. Is that okay that I tell people that?
Yeah, of course it is. We live our lives. We live our lives for the betterment and enjoyment of this city.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
On KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Pickleball is, obviously, it's a growing sport, but also just the community in Seattle, they've already welcomed it. The beautiful thing about this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We're excited about this pickleball tournament. It's all about bringing families together, but also, you get to come out there and compete against myself, Doug, Michael Bennett, and we are the most competitive people. So regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl. And again, it's just all about bringing community together and having a great time, but all for a great cause and raising money for these grassroots organizations.
Come out and help me beat Cliff. Help me beat Cliff.
All right, this is going to be fun. Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up.
Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Styling. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
In 6/22/25, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
Calling all contractors and equipment operators. The James G. Murphy Auction Company rolls out this month one of the biggest heavy equipment auctions of the summer. On the block, find an incredible collection of heavy equipment, contractors' equipment, and vehicles, like a 2004 John Deere 400C rock truck, a 2010 John Deere 450D LC excavator, a 2001 John Deere 650H LT dozer, and a 2014 Kenworth T800. In contractors' equipment, we have attachments, live edge and dimensional lumber, contractor tools, even a wheel wash system, and much more up for bid. Whether you're building roads, moving earth, or running a construction outfit, we got what you need. Bidding is underway now and closes at 10 a.m. June 19th. Preview all items June 17th and 18th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at our location in Marysville, 3803 136th Street Northeast. For pictures and details of all items, visit murphyauction.com. That's murphyauction.com.
Care Partners Senior Living is growing. Amanda here. We are very excited to introduce our newest communities in Port Orchard, Sumner, and North Creek Bothell, bringing compassionate, quality care at an affordable price, closer to more of you. Visit carepartnersliving.com today.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit, Accurate Auto Body.
If you've been in an auto accident, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit, Accurate Auto Body.
And with that, we wrap up our Thursday edition of the Gee and Ursula Show. Angela Poe Russell filling in for Gee today and tomorrow, and it has been such a pleasure. And I'm going to let you start with some of our text messages.
Yes, we were talking about protests, in some cases riots. Rick in Olympia, I'm old enough to remember anti-war and race riots in the 60s. Unfortunately, I think it was the level of destruction which forced change. I would have been interested in Gee's perspective. Sometimes playing Seattle nice won't be enough. Just because our king is sending in the soldiers doesn't mean it's time to cower and play nice expecting change.
And I would say, just based on the conversations that we've had about this, is that Gee is all about the passionate protests, but he does not believe in violent protests. And that's what he has said.
I think I've remembered that too.
Yes.
Yep.
Kevin in Seattle says, I believe people voted to deport dangerous, violent criminals, not people who are just trying to live. Yes, they do need to come in the right way, but targeting little kids and families at church is criminal in its own right.
425 says, I'd like to ask you, please let me know how the ICE agents know who is a, quote, illegal immigrant. Where are they getting records from, or if they are at a Home Depot parking lot? What does illegal immigrant look like in a parking lot? Are they looking only for any color other than Caucasian? I'd like to know the number of brown and dark skin color versus Caucasians that have been arrested. I'm sure that answer is not easily found.
And to respond to 425, I think that's one of the things that has been so lacking in all of this is that there isn't really communication. Sometimes after the fact, they'll say, well, we did get murderers, et cetera, but there's no proof of that. And I think a lot of the anxieties and anger would be maybe at least tamped down a little bit if there was more information.
And if you arrest people without a warrant from a judge or evidence, that is a violation of due process.
Due process,
which
exactly.
Everyone in this country is guaranteed under the Constitution.
Exactly. Vicky says, I understand people who went through the process of becoming a legal immigrant saying others should have to do the same. I agree. However, what do those same people say when illegal immigrants and asylum seekers try to follow that process only to be arrested when they show up for their appointments to become legitimate residents? It is a no-win situation. Show up, get arrested and deported. Don't show up, and anti-immigration folks say, see, they're criminals. And Vicky, you are 1,000% correct on that.
All right. Calling out the National Guard and Marines. 206 says calling in the National Guard, the Marines, is a political move, plain and simple. And no one wants to admit they're not there to protect people. They're there to protect a building, a federal building that in most cases isn't even under threat. Meanwhile, they're doing nothing to actually help manage protesters or de-escalate tensions. It's also a massive disruption. The National Guard are citizen soldiers. Many of them are single parents or working regular jobs. Their employers, their families, their communities all take a hit when they get pulled into what amounts to political theater. In the end, it's a waste of resources, a waste of time, and a waste of taxpayer money.
And one of our guests today, actually agrees with that assessment. It was former King County Sheriff John Urquhart. If you missed that interview that was on in the 10 o'clock hour, you can listen on our podcast. Make sure you check that out. Also, you'll hear from James Lynch, our reporter who was there.
That was a great conversation.
That Seattle police did a fantastic job in his assessment, having covered many, many different protests that turned, in unfortunately too many cases, turned violent. On a novel solution to Stephen Miller's deportation quota, Doug in Mount Vernon says, what if foreign vacationers could just swing by ICE at the end of their trip and get paid to self-deport? A win-win. Stephen Miller gets help meeting his deportation quota, and the tourists get a little travel bonus on their way out. Doug?
A free flight home?
Doug has the most creative text messages, I gotta say.
Okay. So we were talking about the all-women spa and having to allow transgender women. Sean in Parkland, my wife goes with her friends to these. As a dude, naked spa day with my buds isn't something I can wrap my mind around. LOL.
Same.
Well, I'll just tell you, as someone who has gone there, it's amazing. It's an amazing, very relaxing situation.
I've never been.
And I think, you need to go. I mean, seriously, the scrubs are incredible.
And you don't feel weird being naked.
No.
Yeah.
You don't feel weird being naked, or everyone wouldn't feel weird being naked.
Yeah, you go knowing that you're going to,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're in one of the massage rooms, the private ones. Otherwise, you're in pools, different temperature pools. It's all women. Yeah, you know what you're dealing with coming in, which is, I think, Ryan's question, is she post-op or pre-op? I mean, that is an important question. Anyway, if you want to hear our conversation about that, you can check that out on our podcast as well. And then on the subject of AI therapists, 425 says, hi, guys. I used it when I was having a very hard time just making it through the day. What AI was basically doing was walking me through my thoughts to make a gratitude journal, and it really helped me over the hump. And that is great news.
Yeah.
So thank you for all your text messages, and apologize if yours wasn't read or wasn't responded to, because we are having issues with our text line, and hopefully it'll be fixed by tomorrow.
All right. Shall we get to Ursula's words to live by?
Yes. And you know what? It was inspired by you.
Really?
Because you living out your passion. And I love this. Believe in your heart that you are meant to live a life full of passion, purpose, magic, and miracle. And the other quote that I love is, you just need to follow your passion and live your dream. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. So again, I want to say tomorrow night,
7 o'clock, Seattle Public Theater.
So cool.
Yeah.
thank you to all of you. Chef, thank you for another great show. Nick, take us out.
Well, graduation season's in the air for senior souls where the homework's done and graded, getting closer to their goals, though there's some who don't need ceremonies for their final day while they're packed and boarded on a grad trip already on their way. But if you really want those students heard in the spotlight, you could try to call them from the older phone booth on the flight, but I'm not sure they still keep those things around, though, so maybe a cell phone would work as well.
I love it, Nick. I need to have you give us some positive words about the Mariners who are struggling right now.
Please.
Can you give us some hope for the season?
Look on the bright side, near term, they're coming back home. It's a chance to turn things around. The fans are going to be back on their side,
That's so true. I'm going to be going to my first Mariners game on Monday.
So you're going to turn their luck
Yes.
around then. If they win that night, it'll be because of you then.
Oh, look here, buddy. Things are just going to be fine.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
We get to do it again tomorrow.
Yes,
huh?
we do. So I look forward to that. Jake and Spike, they're coming up next. Have a fantastic afternoon.
Hope you have as much fun as we have. So long, everybody.
You make me feel special. Tonight there's just me and you, and we're stepping out tonight. Yeah. Just me and you, baby.
Jake and Spike.
How you doing today?
I'm fabulous.
You're looking a little, are you a little glum?
No.
Oh, you're fabulous.
I'm fabulous. I'm faking it till I make it.
Good for you.
I'm a transmission fluid half full kind of guy.
Oh, that's nice.
How's that?
You need that today.
I do need that.
'Cause you're having some car troubles. Is that okay that I tell people that?
Yeah, of course it is. We live our lives. We live our lives for the betterment and enjoyment of this city.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
On KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM.
Jim Singletary here, Chief Roof Nerd at RoofSmart, where we're not afraid to tell you no. Looking for a roofing company that'll do cheap, fast work and just cover up the problem? No, that's not us. Want a quick quote without a real inspection? Nope. Just want a price without knowing your options? Not happening. Look, we don't want to tell you no, but if saying yes means cut corners, bad results, or wasted money, we won't do it. Period. And here's the deal. Seattle gets 150 rainy days a year. That's not wait and see weather, it's call RoofSmart now weather. We say no to leaky roofs, sloppy work, and bad estimates, and yes to thorough inspections, accurate quotes, and top quality work that actually lasts. So if you want an honest roofer who's not afraid to say no to bad work, call RoofSmart today at 206-487-4877 or visit GetRoofSmart.com. That's 206-487-4877 or GetRoofSmart.com.
Fraud is rampant, and those on Medicare are targets. Medicare never makes cold calls, so when someone calls you and says they're from Medicare, hang up. If you get an offer for free medical equipment or services, toss it. When you get your medical statement, read it. And if anything looks suspicious, report it to the Senior Medicare Patrol with Sheba. Sheba is a free, unbiased service of the Washington State Office of the Insurance Commissioner. If you suspect fraud, search Medicare Sheba or call 800-562-6900.
Do you notice sound